Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the March 7th, 2023 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. This time, I'd like to ask Pastor Ben Holland to come forward and give us an invocation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
You know, for many people, this is the season of Lent, time to set aside something important to them, to think about the sufferings that Christ had for us and how Christ suffered to give us such a great salvation. And it's to him that we owe glory and honor and thanks, and to ask his provision for us. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father God, we thank you so much that we can come together and, Lord, to have these proceedings dealing with the things going on in our county and among our citizens. Lord, we pray for your guidance, for your spirit to be here to lead, to provide, to protect. And Lord, we pray for Calvert County. We pray that you continue to support the people who live here. Lord, lead us into prosperity, and Lord, continue to provide for us. Lord, we remember those who do not have, for those who are suffering. Lord, just knowing that you suffered on behalf of us. Lord, we look forward to the day of our full resurrection, and we look forward to your glory. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you, Pastor Holland. We appreciate it. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda as presented? Motion?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public service announcements. I mentioned this last week. It seems like all we do is give out condolences at our meetings. It's very unfortunate. But last week we lost Tom Crockett of North Beach, who was a previous council member and a business owner there for more than 40 years. So we want to extend our condolences to the family of Tom Crockett. Also, March 8th is International Women's Day. So tomorrow, nations around the world are going to celebrate International Women's Day to honor the achievements of women and girls from all walks of life and the unique challenges they face. Most notably here in Calvert County, we have Harriet Elizabeth Brown, who is a Calvert County school teacher who in 1937 fought and won equal pay for teachers of color. Margaret Dunkel, who created Title IX, the 1972 landmark legislation that prohibits sex discrimination in schools and colleges, and received federal funding. Margaret, is she in the audience today? Sometimes she joins us. Margaret remains an active member in Calvert County, and most of you will see her. She's very active trying to get the Harriet Brown Center built, community center built in Prince Frederick. And we also have Mary W. Jackson, who taught math at the former William Sampson Brooks High School to African-American students in Calvert County, and later went on to become the first African-American female NASA engineer. So on this Saturday, March 11th, the Women of the World celebration will be held virtually. It is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can register free through the Calvert County Library website. I believe that's all the public announcements I have at this time. That takes us to proclamations. The first is for Good Sportsmanship Month. Commissioner Cox.
Come on up to the mic and announce who you are, and then come on up front, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sorry, I'm a little tall. My name is Taylor Morton. I'm the Sports Assistant Coordinator with Calvert County Parks and Recreation. March is Good Sportsmanship Month, and today I'm here to recognize two important people who support our community and programs. And the people that I brought with me today are Shannon and Luke Crandall, and I would like to say a few words about them. So, Shannon and Luke Crandall have been coaching soccer with Calvert County Parks and Recreation for many years. Last soccer season, they coached 3 teams, and this fall season, they are projected to coach 4 teams. Their dedication to the youth of Calvert County far exceeds what is asked of any volunteer. They both do an incredible job implementing the fundamentals and mental toughness of soccer while having fun at the same time. Shannon and Luke are at every game, coaching and supporting their children and their children's teammates. Despite the outcome, they both always have a supportive attitude and display good sportsmanship throughout the whole season. Calvert County Parks and Recreation sincerely thanks you both for supporting our programs and modeling good sportsmanship each and every year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on up.
Y'all come on up, please.
Right here. You can be short.
So we thank you for what you do each and every day. And sportsmanship is a big deal, on and off the field. So we definitely appreciate what you do. So I have a proclamation here, and it reads as goes. Whereas the state of Maryland and Calvert County recognize the sports are a major social force and influence American culture and Maryland families. And whereas being involved in sports, including coaches, players, and fans of all levels, should promote good sportsmanship and foster the development and positive characteristics of physical fitness and positive personal growth. And whereas the elements of sportsmanship reflect crucial life skills that will help players thrive throughout their education, a strong sense of character and collaboration can also prepare them for the workplace. And whereas sportsmanship can combat bullying and promote inclusion and providing a safe and healthy environment where players value respect, fairness, integrity, responsibility, and perseverance. And whereas fostering committed to these qualities on the playing field and can prevent harassment and reduce instances of concussions and other injuries. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Board of County Commissioners, that on March 23rd be observed as Good Sportsmanship Month in Calvert County. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens are encouraged to always promote fair play, good equity, and good character within the community, both in and out of sports. Given under their hands the seal the 7th day of March, 2023, signed by all 5 commissioners. Thank you.
Everybody scooch in a little bit. One, two, three. One more. One, two, three.
Perfect.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, too. With all Taylor's good. She's our great coach.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
The next proclamation on the agenda is for Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Commissioner Ireland.
Who do we have here for the proclamation this morning? Joe?
Should be Mr. Sullivan.
If you would introduce yourselves at the mic, please come forward, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ed Sullivan, Division Chief of the Calvert County Office on Aging.
Come on up.
So I'm Angela
Here.
Nino.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here we go.
I'm Angela Nino, the Developmental Disability Specialist at the Office of Aging, and this is Miss Marilyn Little. She's one of the participants in the GREAT program.
Good morning, Tanya Taylor, Client Services Manager, Office on Aging.
All right, come on up. We're ready to take a picture.
All right, thank you all for being here and doing what you do. You want to say a few words?
Yes, sir. First of all, Commissioners, we want to thank you for your support of this particular month. We know we cannot do the work that we do without your support. We understand that. Thank you for giving us the privilege of working with individuals with developmental disabilities. We appreciate it very much. Thankful for our staff. We have a couple staff members here from the Office on Aging. We have Angela Neno, who's in the trenches every day, right in front of us here, working with them side by side. We have someone else who is at the Calvert Pine Senior Center now, Crystal Jones, who's at the Senior Center working with them now in the trenches, and their supervisor, Tanya Taylor. We appreciate her leadership. Appreciate Jennifer Moreland. Thank you, Jennifer, for your leadership, and County Administrator Willis. But Commissioners, thank you so much. I know it's not just us. It's not just us. There are community partners, such as the Arc of Southern Maryland, such as Southern Maryland Community Network. So we know we're not the only ones in the work, but we are in the work, and we thank you for your great support to allow us to do what we do. This young lady here, Marilyn, volunteers at our centers along with other ones, serving lunch, brightening our day. We get to love on them, and we have the privilege of having them love on us as well. So, Commissioners, thank you for your support of this proclamation.
Thank you. Jennifer, did you want to come up and say anything? You sure? Okay. We'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas in 1987, President Ronald Reagan first proclaimed the month of March as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month to provide the encouragement and opportunities necessary for people with developmental disabilities to reach their potential. And whereas in the 36 years since the first proclamation, we have made progress in improving the lives of individuals with developmental disabilities, noting challenges remain in providing full inclusion. And whereas Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is a time to celebrate the many contributions people with developmental disabilities make to our society and to recognize the efforts made to achieve a culture of meaningful and full inclusion in all facets of community life. And whereas through awareness and outreach to identify barriers and develop solutions, the idea of true inclusion and integration can become a reality and highlight the principle that everyone benefits when people with and without disabilities live, learn, and earn together in a community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of March is known as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Be it further proclaimed that by this action it be known the many ways people with and without developmental disabilities come together to form strong and diverse communities. Given under his hands and seal the 7th day of March 2023, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll scooch in, we'll put that right in the middle of the proclamation for the picture.
Good.
All right.
Coming a little
Smile.
bit on the edges. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
And our last proclamation for National Nutrition Month, Commissioner Grasso.
Is anybody here for National Nutrition?
Sullivan, come on up to the mic.
Come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ed Sullivan, Division Chief of the Office on Aging.
So you can go right up front. Perfect.
Cheryl Henley, President, Calvert Meals on Wheels Incorporated.
Good morning, Christy Oliva, Program Manager, also on Aging.
Good morning, Patty Ryan, Fiscal Manager with the Office on Aging.
Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you for all that you do for our seniors in Calvert County. I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas since 1972, the National Senior Nutrition Program has funded local agencies and organizations to serve home-delivered and congregate meals that help to ensure older adults have opportunities to stay healthy, independent, and connected. And whereas more than 10 million older Americans face hunger each year. And whereas local senior nutrition programs help older adults access healthy foods, education, and counseling while creating social opportunities to develop friendships and encourage overall well-being. And whereas the Calvert County Office on Aging is an integral part of Calvert County by providing sustenance and so much more to our older citizens, especially those most vulnerable to social isolation, chronic disease, and other health challenges. And whereas Calvert Meals on Wheels has provided meals to the homebound for over 40 years, thanks to the local citizens who have volunteered their time to deliver meals to our most vulnerable senior citizens. And whereas the Calvert County Office on Aging is positively impacting our community and its senior residents by serving 15,428 meals to older adults inside our Calvert County senior centers during 2022, as well as partnering with our Meals on Wheels community volunteers to serve 24,307 meals through home delivery. A total of 39,735 meals were served to 1,098 older adults in Calvert County in 2022 by Calvert County's Office on Aging staff and Meals on Wheels volunteers. Now therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that March 2023 be observed as National Senior Nutrition Program. Be it further proclaimed that by this action, the Board of County Commissioners commends all those committed to supporting our older adults through nutrition services, ensuring they continue to thrive and remain essential contributors to the strength and vitality of our community. Given under our hands and sealed this 7th day of March 2023 and signed by all 5 county commissioners. Thank you.
Well, once again, Commissioners, thank you. Ed Sullivan, Division Chief of the Office on Aging. Thank you for the proclamation and recognizing, first of all, the Meals on Wheels volunteers. We have President of the Meals on Wheels, Cheryl Hanley, here, and there's dozens of volunteers in the community who are delivering meals. They're doing it today. And you heard the numbers that Commissioner Grasso mentioned. We're thankful for our volunteers. We certainly could use some more Meals on Wheels volunteers, but we're so thankful for them. Christy Oliva oversees our congregate meal program inside our senior centers. Patty Ryan oversees, works with Cheryl on the Meals on Wheels program. We have staff who are working today to serve meals. We have substitutes, who I'm not going to mention all of them, but we appreciate our substitutes and our staff who are working so hard to provide this service. Commissioners, thank you for supporting us and giving us the opportunity to do what we do. We know it's a privilege to be here, and we thank you for it. Thanks for your support. We appreciate it.
You know, Mr. Sullivan, looking for volunteers.
When I retire, you're going to get me. But I talk so much, you're only going to get about 2 of them a day, okay? Because if you gave me a long list, they'd be like, he was supposed to be here already. Where is he? So, yeah, you know, so maybe about 2 of them, but, you know, and, but, yeah. I already told Carolyn, she goes, what are you going to do when you retire one day? I'm like, I'm doing Meals on Wheels, but you got to give me a special exception.
Thank you, sir.
With other
All right. Yep, scooch right on in. Yep, there we go. Going in a little bit.
There you go. Went heavy this way, but we'll make it work.
Hey, I've been on
We'll
the
make it
treadmill,
work.
Kevin, okay?
We'll make it work. Here we go.
Kyle.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
It's next year, this April.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. When you retire.
I'm dead serious. Yes. Yes.
We have witnesses. And I'll talk to Carol.
Oh, exactly.
On the tape. Thank you.
So I will put in an extra plug beside Commissioner Hart. You know, Meals on Wheels could use some volunteers. And it's not just about delivering a meal. It's about sometimes you're the only connection for these citizens to the outside world. And as Commissioner Hart said, he probably could only handle 2 because he talked forever.
Oh, yeah,
But
it's true. Oh,
it's,
yeah. I got so many stories they probably hadn't heard. You know, look, you know, you run out of people to tell them to.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like, did I ever tell you about this one? So they'll be like, can you send somebody else? I'm trying to eat. He won't shut up.
But if you do have some free time and you're looking for a worthy cause, they would love to have you volunteer with Meals on Wheels to help our seniors who are homebound and need some socialization besides a good meal. So we appreciate any help we can get with that. That brings us to appointments. Deputy Administrator Vassallo.
Good morning, Commissioners. You have 2 rounds of appointments this morning. The first one is for the Veteran Affairs Commission, and staff is requesting that the board.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The staff is requesting that you appoint Mr. John Gray as American Legion Post 220's representative, and I believe Mr. Gray is in the room.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Move to approve?
Second?
Have a motion and a second that we appoint John Gray, Post 220 representative to the Veterans Affairs Commission. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So Wilson
Congratulations.
Carolyn stepped down from something?
He did.
He did.
Jeez.
I think his plate was getting kind of full.
Congratulations, sir.
Makes you curious. doesn't it?
Congratulations.
All right, your second round of appointment is for the Cove Point Light Station Commission, and staff is requesting that the board appoint Albert Lane III to the Cove Point Light Station Commission. You'll have one vacancy following this appointment today.
Move to approve?
Second?
Have a motion and a second that we reappoint Albert Lane III to the Cove Point Light Station Commission. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to awards. The first award, Employee Recognition Committee, Commissioner Hart.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Lorraine Joyner, Executive Administrative Assistant with Department of Community Resources, here today as the Employee Recognition Committee Assistant Awards Coordinator to introduce two awards. First, Calvert County Government's March 2023 Employee of the Month. The Employee of the Month award acknowledges individual excellence for superior job performance or special efforts in the following areas: effectiveness of public contact, respect for fellow employees, quality and/or quantity of work, contributions toward improving organizational morale, and actions that improve the county's public image. And not insignificantly, they become eligible for Employee of the Year. Anyone can nominate a coworker for this award. Please check out the ERC webpage on the county intranet for more information. Our March 2023 Employee of the Month is Brenda Sight, bus driver for our Calvert County Department of Public Transportation. Brenda, can you please join me at the mic? Stand right here, just a minute. All right, Brenda went above and beyond to keep Calvert County Public Transportation Service running during and after the COVID shutdowns. Brenda often changed her hours at a moment's notice to fill in wherever she was needed to keep the routes running. She filled in every day on different runs during a year-long driver shortage. She arrives at work with a smile. She's got one here today, as you can see, and ready to face whatever comes at her that day without complaint. She also helps out in the office when needed. She takes buses out of the county for repairs and returns to pick them up when the repairs are done. She cheerfully does whatever is needed, always offers to help if she sees anything that can be done to make the day go more smoothly. She shows up early and is ready to start her day no matter what schedule she's on. She constantly asks for opportunities to learn something new. Thank you, Brenda, for providing consistently stellar service to Calvert County public transportation riders. And thank you, Commissioners, for your continued support of the Employee Recognition Committee and for partnering with us to recognize Calvert County's government's truly remarkable workforce. And I believe there may be others here who might want to add something, and so I'm going to sit. Sandy Wobbleton.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm
Good
Sandy
morning.
Wobbleton, Calvert County Transportation Division Chief. And I just want to say that I reiterate everything that Lorraine said from the Employees Recognition Committee. We are truly blessed to have Brenda as an employee. She is, as I said, she always has a smile on her face. She never complains. Well, at least she doesn't complain to us. She probably doesn't complain, but thank goodness she doesn't do it to us. But doesn't matter what the day is, what the time is, she's always willing to change. And she's just a stellar employee, and we are very appreciative and grateful to have her.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll say, come on up front. Yeah, come on up front for the picture.
Is he on top?
So I just asked how many years, so 7 years. So before I present this to you, I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us. And you know, it was a good point. When COVID hit, that's all that dominated the news. were afraid to go outside. Remember, people were washing down packages. They didn't want to walk inside the house. There was so much information out there, you didn't know what to do. Those buses had to keep going. That is the lifeline. Doctor's appointments, grocery store. I mean, basic things that some people just either they can't do, they don't have the means to do, and you know it's so much more than even you just get in there. They know your first name basis. You know, there's people you know that they have a little difficulty with this. It's so personal. It's not just, you know, and so just can't thank you enough for all that. And like Sandy said, no complaints. You know, when there was people complaining about everything, you know, zero. So we want to thank you very much. And we have this plaque for you today. And as Commissioner Nutter used to always say, the most important thing, the check.
Perfect.
Yep, and you can put your little plaque right out front, the picture.
Go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And do we have someone to present the next?
And now, it is my great privilege to introduce Calvert County Government's 2022 Employee of the Year. The 2022 Employee of the Year was selected from the 12 Employee of the Month winners and 2 Pride and Quality winners. Again, this year it was a tough decision because we had 14 truly stellar candidates. Each year, the ERC provides an opportunity for all county staff to provide feedback on the candidates. Not a vote per se, but a chance for coworkers to share additional insight into the character and performance of the candidates. When making this decision, the ERC considers the extent of the impact on Calvert County government and also the community as a whole. So first, a little background. Calvert County Sheriff's Office sworn personnel are mandated by the Maryland Police Training Commission to receive 18 hours of in-service training annually. In years past, this task has been accomplished over a 2-day period with an in-person training at the Southern Maryland Criminal Justice Academy located in Nanjemoy, Maryland. That's a 106-mile round trip. In 2022, Sheriff's Office personnel assigned to the Academy contacted our 2022 Employee of the Year and asked about the possibility of delivering a portion of the training online through CCG's learning management system, NeoGov. This employee coordinated that effort, which resulted in significant savings to the county because of the reduction in overtime for training and shift coverage, decreased travel expenses, and reduced expenses for classroom materials. It also cut down on time spent tracking, inputting, and recording training hours. The virtual training option also allows deputies to complete the self-paced training during their workday in their vehicles while maintaining a visible presence in the county. So, now, let's meet Calvert County Government's 2022 Employee of the Year. Lisa Viverette. Lisa is a human resources analyst. So to recap, the positive impact of Lisa's efforts, thanks to her expert assistance and software proficiency, the Sheriff's Office is able to meet training requirements in a more efficient and cost-effective manner. While in-person training cannot be totally eliminated, the use of NeoGov has eliminated a full day of travel. Lisa's ability to create classes, problem solve, provide training reports, and navigate the training management software eased the burden on Academy personnel and created a foundation for ongoing online trainings. Before I turn it over to the commissioners and others who might like to speak, I want to share this excerpt from Lisa's Employee of the Month nomination. And this is from the first sergeant who nominated her. Words cannot describe Lisa's responsiveness. She accomplished these tasks before and after her workday to meet our time constraints. Lisa worked tirelessly to ensure all classes were built and assigned to deputies, She troubleshot problems, reset passwords, and exported training records to be entered into the management software required by the Maryland Police Training Commission. We cannot thank her enough for her unwavering support. The Sheriff's Office and the Southern Maryland Criminal Justice Academy sincerely appreciate the dedication and support she's given us. I'm sure Lisa would never ask for this appreciation, however, it is much deserved. On a personal level, it has been my privilege to work with Lisa for my entire career with county government. Anyone that's ever gone to Lisa for assistance knows that her response time is measured in seconds, and her positive, cheerful attitude is a constant. I'm convinced that she keeps a caulk gun at the ready because things just do not fall through the cracks when you're working with Lisa. So, the ERC is more than delighted to join the Board of County Commissioners in recognizing this remarkable coworker. Thank you, Lisa, for going the extra mile to make virtual trainings an option for our sheriff's deputies, and thank you, Commissioners, for helping create a workplace where employees like Lisa can shine. And there are probably others who want to share.
Marcy, you can come right up front.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brent Parrott with the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Cox would like to pass on his sincerest appreciation for your work with this project, as well as congratulations for being nominated and rewarded with Employee of the Year. The write-up hit the nail on the head. We've been exploring this option for years, and Commissioner Ireland can attest to this. This is a benefit to not only the deputies, but the county government as a whole, because we don't have to worry about so much as cost savings when we're sending personnel all the way up to the west side of Charles County to attend a full day of training. It's fuel savings, overtime, scheduling conflicts. All that is mitigated by just this one portion of NeoGov. And hopefully moving forward, we can expound upon this a little bit more and have a little broader range of training for our deputies and maybe even county government as a whole. But not only for this project, Lisa, but I've known you for a long time. You're a tenured employee with the county government. You're well respected, and your work ethic is beyond reproach. So personally, and for the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, congratulations.
Is there anybody else?
Good morning. I'm Melanie Woodson, the Human Resources Director. I have the privilege of having Lisa on my team and working with her on a daily basis. Lisa is an exemplary employee. I am so happy to be able to work with her. I'm happy we were able to get her from the county administrator's office because she has a wealth of knowledge.
Keep rubbing it in.
And we are able to, you know, it's that institutional knowledge that just other employees just would not have. So we are so blessed to have a Lisa on our team and an employee who knows so much about county government and understands the importance of fostering relationships with other departments and divisions. And the Sheriff's Department, technically they're employees of the sheriff, right? So Lisa has gone totally above and beyond her normal everyday job duties in order to be able to do this, but she recognizes the value of the relationship that we need to have with the Sheriff's Department. So I'm just glad that Lisa took it on, no question, no pushback, because she understands the big picture and she gets it. We all need to work together. And Lisa, it's so appreciated. Congratulations to you. Happy to have you on the team.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dina Davis, Human Resources Deputy Director. Melanie stole a little bit of my thunder. She really said everything that needed to be said. But I am grateful to Lisa for her extensive project management skills and her customer service, right? So we talk a lot about customer service within local government. She is an exemplary example of how customer service, internal customer service, should work. Thank you, Lisa. Congratulations. This is so well deserved.
So, Mark Willis, County Administrator, it's my understanding that there's a requisition in the system now to bring Lisa back to the County Administrator's office.
So, I'm just going to keep it to an hour because we got a tight schedule. I won't give up how long me and Lisa have known each other, but it's before here. And when I first got hired 8 years ago, I'm petrified And so I get to the commissioner's office, and there's a friendly face. You don't even know where the bathroom is, you know, and I'm like, Lisa, I don't know what to do, you know. And the amount of phone calls made to her, especially in those early days, you've heard some of the things. There's really, Webster doesn't have enough words, and I'm being dead serious. If you wanted to see what's the perfect county employee, there it is. And it even goes bigger than that, because it goes perfect person. I've never seen her ever be angry, say anything negative. And I'm going a lot of years back here. Well, not a lot of years, but you know, she's just a true angel. She really, really is. It's such an honor. I'm a better person knowing Lisa Viverette. And she's just, there's truly, I mean, this is nothing to the person that stands up here. Nothing. I mean, when I was going through the packet this week, I saw Lisa and I just smiled. Because I'm like, you know, if you dolled up what you want for there's not a department out here wouldn't fight to have her, you know, and there's not enough words to say. I mean, everything that times 1,000, what everybody says, Lisa, you are just a delight to be around.
That means a lot.
Yes, and you see, she's so humble. If she had to nominate herself, it would never happen. Never. There'd be people nominating themselves like daily. She would never do it. You're like, doesn't she work? She's like, yeah, no.
Commissioner, we're bringing her back to track you specifically.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I just truly can't say how valuable, especially early on, you were to me, Lisa. I mean, I was traumatized when I heard she was leaving. I'm like, huh? What do we got to do? What did we do wrong? What did I say? I said something wrong? I mean, yeah. Like I said, this is just not even close, Lisa. But you know, from the bottom of our heart, we so thank you for everything. There's that, and always, as Commissioner Nutter would say, the most important thing is the check.
I think there's some people here with her too.
Bring some people to bring down.
My husband, Louis Cutler, my sister,
Hello,
Hattie Hoover, my other sister, Mary Strachowski. Come on up. Don't be shy.
It is?
Yeah.
No kidding. Hey, how you doing? Wow. That was a while back. Yeah. Remember when we broke this book or something? Was trying to push
Get everyone to sit this way.
No, you're fine. Right, get in here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, boy.
You good?
Scratch a little kitchen a little bit. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
High school students, everything I've been through.
Hey, Lou.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Exactly.
So Lisa, again, congratulations. Most of you may or may not know, we have over 1,200 employees. So to be recognized as Employee of the Year is quite an accomplishment. And her husband whispered to me when he was up front here, she's also Wife of the Year. So,
Oh, I believe that.
Nice.
I believe that, yes.
so we really do appreciate Lisa and all her efforts.
I don't think Carolyn will say I'm husband of the year, though.
I don't think so either.
I don't think I won that award.
No.
She's encouraging me to get another job.
Ain't no doubt. You're home too much.
Right, right. What are you doing here? It's Sunday. Isn't there a Sunday
Isn't there
job
somewhere
out
to
there?
go?
Right.
Is that why she keeps calling me looking for stuff for you to do?
Exactly, exactly.
We digress. So the next item on the agenda is consent. We have 3 items under consent today. Item 1, Office of the Court Administrator FY 2024 grant application for adult treatment court. Item 2, Department of Finance and Budget Award Recommendation RFP 2023-023 Senior Program Medical Supplies. Item 3, Department of Parks and Recreation Prescribed Burn Plan Agreement. Are there any objections to the items under consent?
None.
Hearing none, those items will be adopted as presented. That brings us to new business. Item 1, Department of Finance and Budget FY 2024 6-year capital improvement plan review. Good morning, Veronica.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Veronica Atkinson, Capital Project Analyst with Finance and Budget. I'll read the memo. The Department of Finance and Budget and the Department of Public Works Transportation, DPW, will present a review of their proposed fiscal 2024 6-year capital improvement plan, or CIP, to the Board of County Commissioners. The Department of Finance and Budget reviewed DPW Transportation's FY 2024 through FY 2029 6-year CIP staff recommended budget request totaling $37,655,000. Included in this capital project CIP is the Armory Square Development Project. This project was recently awarded 100% grant funding. This project will fall under the Department of Public Works Capital Division. The project was awarded $60,000 in FY 2023, and an additional amount of $2 million was awarded for fiscal year 2024 for the design and construction of a multi-use open-air pavilion. Fiscal impact. The fiscal impact for DPW Transportation's 6-year staff recommended CIP of $37,655,000 includes $2,470,000 in excise tax. The Armory Square Development Project is 100% grant funding. DPW Transportation's funding is broken out with PAYGO or general fund at $10,670,000, debt bond $24,515,000, and again excise tax $2,470. The FY 24 Armory Square development funding again is grant at $2 million. This presentation is to prepare the Board of County Commissioners for the 6-year capital improvement plan cost from DPW Transportation and the Armory Square development and seek the board's direction on those projects. In today's presentation, we will first see a high-level expense breakdown for transportation. We will then review each of the projects with concentration on projects in FY 24. And then I will close the presentation with a recap of each department's FY 24 expenses and revenues. This slide is our transportation overview. For FY 24, $3,200,000. This is for salt barns, road repairs, expansions, culvert repairs, extensions, and safety repairs. There's $3,060,000 for non-specific transportation projects, which are bridge dam maintenance, general roadway safety, sidewalk program, stormwater drainage, stormwater management, and the MS4 program. This slide reflects the Armory Square development, FY 2024, $2 million. The Armory Square Development CIP has been awarded additional funding through the Rural Maryland Economic Development Fund, which is overseen by the Maryland Department of Commerce and administered by 5 rural regional councils to boost the economic development activity stimulate private sector investment, and to create jobs in the state's rural regions. Calvert County government was awarded $60,000 in FY 2023 for the schematic design of a multi-use open-air pavilion in the heart of Prince Frederick Town Center. An additional $2 million has been awarded for the 2024 construction of that pavilion. I will now hand the presentation over to J.R. Cosgrove with Department of Public Works Transportation. He will walk you through their projects.
Good morning, Commissioner. J.R.
Morning.
Cosgrove,
Good morning.
Acting Director of Public Works. Here we have for our FY '24 budget, we'll start with the Appeal Salt Barn facility. We've actually started that facility. We have the salt barn constructed along with all of the site work. With that project, we have two additional buildings to put off to the rear of the facility to store a transfer station for salt brine. So the plan is we'll make the salt brine in our main facility in Barstow, but we'll have about a 10,000 gallon tank down there along with the transfer pump. So when we're doing snow remove operations and doing site brine, we do not have to bring the contractors or vehicles back to Prince Frederick. We'll have a facility there to house the tanking and the brine itself, along with some storage facility for traffic safety devices and stuff like that outside of the weather to extend the life of the devices. The next project on the list is the Barstow Salt Barn facility, where we've kind of taken we've increased the capacity of the highway maintenance yard there at our facility. One with the new salt barn, along with we've created a facility to store screen topsoil inside. We've created additional storage bins for material to use for county projects. This money here will go basically to expand that yard even further so that we have an area to store debris such as trees from where we remove them off the side of the road when they fall down. And also when we clean out ditches, we'll have an area to store the soil that we clean out of the ditches so that we can further recycle that later or screen it and create our own topsoil. And that's what those $800,000 would be used for. The next project for FY '24, we're asking for $850,000 for the Lower Marlboro Calvert. There's two culverts there. They're elliptical culvert that are about 5 by 6. They're older culverts that are failing, plus we have flooding in the issue. So we're looking at replacing those culverts with a larger box culvert to help with the flooding and to rehabilitate the area so we don't have any failures in the future. The next project on the list is under the Prince Frederick Loop Road, where we're asking for $1 million for the northeast segment of Chesapeake Boulevard and Prince Frederick Boulevard. That'll add to the existing capital project that we have there to help fund building the remaining portion of Fox Run Boulevard between the high school and the middle school area, along with design money for looking at expanding Chesapeake Boulevard towards the north area as the plan calls for.
So that's, if you're going to the middle school, go through Fox Run, go back towards the middle school, there's already a little cut to the right.
Correct. There's a little section of Chesapeake Boulevard. When you get, so this would be to head north on Chesapeake Boulevard, past the middle school through additional property that the county and the Board of Ed owns. The transportation plan from, I think it's probably 6 to 8 years ago, showed Chesapeake Boulevard expanding out. It's basically the east side of the loop road. It'll mirror Prince Frederick Boulevard where it'll come out somewhere just north of the hospital, depending on where we determine, kind of across from Auto Drive.
So $1 million isn't going to get you very far. So
No.
how far do you think you're going with
This is starting design and looking into acquisition of land.
It's not actual construction, it's just a
No.
design.
Correct.
What is the total cost of that project?
It depends
Just
on which,
roughly.
we got like 3 different alignments. You're probably looking at in today's money, probably about $8 million, at least.
To go from where it ends now to Route
Correct.
4 above Stokely Road.
Correct. It's a good section of road. You got to wrap around the hospital, come out to Route 4. There'll be some state highway improvements. There'll also be a wetlands crossing back there.
Say that number.
$8 million. $8 million.
From fiscal year '24 to '29, the total is $3,250,000. How did we get to $8 million?
That's just a rough estimate on basically the length of what we're currently seeing improvements cost today. These are just rough estimates that were in the budget from years ago. We haven't updated the out years yet because we don't really have a design or nailed down the exact alignment to figure out. I mean, we know roughly where it's going to go, but when you start getting up around the hospital, there's 3 different options to help reduce the impact in the environment.
So once you have the million to do the design, oh, I'm sorry, once you have the million to do the design, then you will know approximately what it's going to cost. And is this cost going to take you through 2029, or do you anticipate it'll go further?
It possibly could go further. The worst part with any of these road improvements is land acquisition.
Okay.
You can never nail down how long that'll take, because it kind of comes down to whether the property owner is, one, willing to sell, and if we can even move forward with it or not. So it's kind of, once we get through the design and the conceptual design, we figure out how much property we need to acquire. Once we get through that step, it's a whole lot easier to nail down the time frame of the project and the actual construction dollars moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So does the plan include tying in, Calvert Health already has a road that comes out on Route 4 across from Bayside.
Trey,
Is it to tie into that?
it's pretty close to that area, yes.
But you're not going to tie into that road, you're going to come out
The
further north?
current plan does not show that tying into, but when that plan was developed, that section wasn't there.
Didn't exist?
No.
So the million's going to give you the money to look at how we're going to,
pretty much how to work all that together now, because a lot of that wasn't there when this plan was initially,
this is
conceived.
going to sound crazy, 8 million doesn't sound like enough money.
No, it's not. It's a touch.
Probably not.
It's a touch. To go that far and to do all that and that topography, it's a touch. Yeah.
No.
Because if I go back in my 5 years, we've had this discussion before, and I think the administrator's right. I thought the estimate we heard was like 30 million to complete from
Does that go all
Dares
the way to
Beach
Dares Beach,
Road,
right?
from Dares Beach Road up to, but some of that connection, when you go south from the middle school, there's proposed development coming in there, and that's going to take care of some of that, correct?
So that development, I believe, went to Planning Commission a few months ago for that development. And Planning Commission agreed that Fox Run Boulevard would meet the intent of the loop road system on that side, so I don't believe they're
That's why the
looking to
EFO has
extend
to be updated.
Chesapeake Boulevard through that property. So the loop road would end up being Fox Run Boulevard to Chesapeake Boulevard and up around.
And prior to the completion, that has to be, the completion of the homes and UNOs, that has to be completed, so there's your time.
Correct.
Right.
So I mean, I know 8 million doesn't seem like it's probably enough, but we've done alignments in-house and some additional grading to see what we would need. And we could shift the alignment on the majority of the property that we own that's part of the middle school property. So a good segment of it, we wouldn't have to buy property at all. It's not until we get up behind the hospital where we'd have to start looking at purchasing property. And that's where the topography really gets a little rough.
Shaky.
Yeah. So,
Better hope there's no bridges incorporated in that.
well, that's the question is, we don't know what MDE would require for that crossing.
But at least the $1 million will tell us that.
Correct. Correct. And that'll help us tie down the actual construction dollars.
It's like the south end of Prince Frederick Loop Road. If you look at where that's proposed to go, that ain't gonna happen.
Correct. It's a lot of environmental impacts on the south side.
And there's some environmental on the north side, so the $1 million at
Correct.
least will tell us if that's actually even feasible to do, correct?
Yep. That's the thoughts.
And the Lower Marlboro project, how long a project is that?
It won't take long. We've had 3 box culverts over the past year, and we're usually about a 2-month process in replacing them. And we're probably about 4 or 5 months permitting them.
Are you raising the whole road there?
We're not looking at that yet. We're just pretty much looking at replacing the culverts. It might come up a foot or so, but not much. And that's just to get cover over the box culvert. Next slide.
Oh, no, back on that, I got 2 questions back on that slide.
Okay.
So I'm huge in favor for, back up,
I'm going.
you know where I'm going. Now you're on,
There we go.
yeah,
Now I missed it.
no, come on. There you go. So that curve, you will save lives. I disputed with Rye, could it be done? He said it could be done. You will save lives if you can straighten that out. I mean, I think that's an aggressive project.
It is. So we're at about 50% plans on that. We're at the point where we're looking at trying to draw up acquisition right-of-way easements and start getting
I know, because it's
valuation.
tough right in there.
It is.
But if that could happen and could be done the way that it was said, that would save lives. Now, my big one is on that Parkway extension. So you planning on going like to where that three-way stop is in the Ranch Club?
That was a plan a couple years ago.
I will never vote for that while there's breath in my body. So
Understood.
my folks down there, they're not watching this. I know they're not, but they depend on me to watch that. And the trouble that will bring in there, those amount of cars, it is so not fair. I will scream, scream, scream till I have no breath left in my body against that project right there. I don't want to ever see that happen if I'm 4-1 or what have you. But I can tell you if 1,000 people lived there and 1,000 people truly knew, and there's more than that, there's probably like 8,000-10,000 truly knew with the impacts of that, we wouldn't have one vote for that. If that's what I think that is, and I think I'm right to go, and then for us to pay for it, shoot, no way. So I know where that came from. I know the genesis of that. So I would like to say even more abusive words to that, but I won't. So
Commissioner Hart, can you tell us how you really feel about
yeah,
this project?
yeah. So that's what I think that is, and I'm right, aren't I? Yeah. Capital N-O. So in my book, you can save that money right off the CIP.
Understood.
So
We'll
thank
worry
you.
about that next year.
Yeah.
Correct. Next slide. So on this one, we continue down to the next money we're asking for in FY24 is $50,000 for the Wetlands Mitigation Bank. We currently have a bank down at Cage Farm that covers about 10 acres. This is funding that we have to every year go ahead and maintain it in order to get, because we have not received full credit for the 10 acres we've constructed down there. And each year we have to go in and basically maintain it to make sure it's within standards for MD to inspect yearly, to make sure that we're meeting the design for them to end up giving us credits for banking the wetlands to use for future projects when we need to mitigate them. The next one would be these are non-specific transportation plans, which relate to a little bit of everything across the board, such as dams and bridge maintenance repairs. We're asking for $300,000 there. We have about 20 major bridges and about 20 minor. The major ones we inspect every 2 years with assistance from State Highway, and the minors we have to inspect every 4 years. And from those reports, there's certain things we have to maintain. A lot of it is guardrails because regulations have changed as far as height goes. So we've had to update some of those. Every now and then you get some concrete abutments that need some addressing. You get some erosion around them you need to fix. You get erosion underneath of the bridge where you need to put in some more armor so it doesn't scour next to the foundation. And that's pretty much what those funds cover, along with any dams that we need to maintain for stormwater facilities that our roads cross.
Jay, on that MS4 funding, is there any grant money to alleviate some of that?
We've looked into it. There's some out there, but some of it's difficult to get.
You know,
But we
that's the
continue
stuff
to
that
look
flies
into it.
under the radar. That's
It is.
how much money is that? $6 million?
Yes,
All mandated.
it is mandated by the state.
Yeah. I mean, that's the little things that through the cracks, you go back to the pension shift, highway user fees, all these little things when people go, where do my tax money go? Right there.
Yes. And that's a 5-year permit, and we're looking at renewing that come FY24.
Where are we at on meeting that criteria? I forgot what percentage we had to be at.
We've met our goal every year as far as the impervious area that needs to be treated that's currently not treated by stormwater.
And I'm all about taking care of the environment. I am. But, you would think some of that money would come back to help do that because, these watersheds affect so much more than just our neck of the woods that,
So,
I think it's a good thing that it's happening, that to protect it, but, some of that should be shared cost.
Yeah, so most of the MS4 permitting covers either creating new stormwater devices to treat existing impervious that's not being currently treated, expanding existing facilities we have now to treat over and above what it was originally designed for, fixing some outfall repairs where we have erosion downstream of some of the culverts.
But you got an uphill challenge. There's no
It
doubt
is.
about that. I mean, and the storms don't get any easier.
No, and there's a lot of area in our MS4 permitted that's older communities that were built long before stormwater regulations even existed. So, but we're doing a pretty good job of keeping up with what we need to and meeting the requirements of the permit at this point.
And Commissioner Hans is right. He has called me out for things I have screamed about that the bigger picture that's just not spelled out because I do love the environment. So he's right. I let it marinate and I was like, yeah, I did say that. But you would think some of it would be shared cost. Maryland does have a surplus. You would think they would want to protect
Oh, no,
that.
it's gone.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
we got surplus done.
Yeah.
The next project on the list would be the roadway safety improvements. This is what we use for small safety projects. If we need to install additional guardrail, put up some safety signs. We use this to put up speed notification signs like the one we did down in Solomon to let people know what the speed limit is and how fast they're actually going. So that's what we use that project for. We're asking for $110,000 in FY '24. The next one would be the sidewalk program. We're asking for $150,000 in FY '24. We use this to repair all the sidewalk throughout the town centers in the county where they need to be repaired. If we need to add any additional ones, we can use this account to help do that also. Stormwater management maintenance, in FY '24, we're asking for $150,000 here, and that's to maintain some of our existing stormwater facilities, such as the ones along Southern Connector that we maintained a couple years ago. We had to go in and pretty much do a reconstruction on most of them because they silted in over the time and they weren't storing the volume they should have been for design. We're looking at a couple of them along Prince Frederick Boulevard to handle the stormwater from Prince Frederick Boulevard we need to maintain and improve because, once again, they filled it with sediment over the past 10 years since they've been there. The next one, which is a large one, is our storm drain project account. We're asking for $1.2 million in FY '24. This is the account we pretty much use to help maintain all storm drains underneath of our road infrastructure. So far in FY '23, we have used about $920,000 that was given to us in FY '23, and we've lined and maintained about 7,000 feet of storm drain pipe to date. And we still have more to go this year. Next account is the Transportation Safety Project. This is the account we're asking for $150,000 in. We use this to add what we call raised pavement markers along the center of the road, which is basically the reflective devices you see to help delineate the center line. We use this to install and repair a lot of guardrails along some of our roads to raise them up to regulation height and so forth.
So what's the difference between roadway safety and transportation safety?
So the roadway safety account was set up more towards to do smaller projects. The transportation is more of one strictly just for guardrails, pavement markers, safety signs, and so forth. In the past, a roadway safety improvement project has been used, East Mount Harmony Road. Years ago, there was a couple accidents along Sharp Bend, and it was determined the road was too slippery. So what we ended up doing was going micro-milling it to create the, let's just say, a rougher surface so the tires would stick a little bit better. So that's what we would use the kind of the roadway safety for, is the transportation safety account. And then that leaves us with the MS4 account where we're asking for $1 million in '24. And I think that pretty much wraps up the funding we're asking for transportation. Do you all have any additional questions?
I have a question about Mount Harmony Road and Route 4.
Yes,
Are we doing that, or is that state?
that's all state highway.
All state highway, okay. What are they doing?
They're modifying the intersection so that I believe you cannot make a left and hit south on 4, if I remember correctly, when you come out of Mount Harmony.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
And unrelated to your budget, I did get an email from State Highway. They have started the design process for synchronizing traffic lights.
Good. I knew they were working on it.
Good news. Yeah, that'll help us move cars.
That won't cost us anything.
No.
We like those projects.
For transportation, their FY '24 CIP total is $6,260,000, and their 6-year is $37,655,000. We'll wrap up today's presentation with a total of all functional departments, expenditures, and revenues for FY 2024. Our 2024 general fund total is $64,547,184. And enterprise funds comes in at $18,193,000, giving us a total of $82,740,184 for FY '24.
She says that like it's nothing.
I know I do, because I'm used to seeing it, but it is a lot of money, and it is not nothing.
I was just thinking back to the first time I saw one of these, and it wasn't even close to this. I mean, and I remember saying, we're not really going to go to New York and do all that. I mean, and I don't even want to throw a number what that was first, but it wasn't that, that's for certain. Yeah,
We're at $39,187,500 for debt.
yeah.
That would be your bond trip.
We're not gonna do that either.
Right.
Oh, I just said that out loud, didn't I? I'm sorry.
And the budget is 341 last year, is that correct? Something like that?
Off the top of
I
my
believe so. Yeah, 341, and how much is that number?
For debt,
Yeah.
$39,187,500.
She says it so calm.
Right, right. Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
You gotta hate this time of year, because you get so abused. I know I do it, and you're just
I'm
presenting the
not
numbers,
abusing
know.
you, am I?
No,
I
not
do.
at all.
No.
Not at all.
I do.
No.
I know.
Commissioner
bet
Hart does, but
I bet you
no
go
one
home and
else.
you kick your AC unit this time of year when you go home, don't you? Just
Yeah.
a reminder of it, yeah.
No, as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, fun.
It is brutal. It's a hard job somebody has to do. I mean, it's,
We don't shoot the messengers.
No,
We say no equally.
correct.
it's just mind-blowing that the process has become analysis.
Because JR hadn't committed any of this money yet, right, JR?
No, we have not.
Let's hope
It's
not.
It's not approved, we can't commit it.
Yeah,
You
that's
haven't
the
planned
thing.
on spending any of this
But
money,
you know,
right?
that's the thing too. There is a notion. I remember when I first got here. Oh, it's in the CIP. I actually thought that was money that was saved somewhere when I first got there. I kid you not. I'm like, well, it's in the CIP. They said so. They're like, no.
Or they say, we'll just bond it, like that's
Yeah.
free money.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like put it on a credit card, Yeah. And then you always hear someone say, it's for kids. Absolutely right. It's so they don't pay it back in
Correct.
generation after generation and generation. It's absolutely right. That's what gets missed. It is for the next generation. And people on those walls made sure we weren't in that trick bag, and I don't plan to break that habit. So,
No. Well, thank you, commissioners.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
This is my last presentation. I will
Oh,
see you
darn.
for,
oh, no.
yep,
You'll be back.
my last morning.
We'll call you.
Oh, so.
For the
Lin-
evening, I'll be here for the evening.
Lynn just said the first one was around 30 million?
You almost had a heart attack, Commissioner.
Yeah. And our budget wasn't nowhere near that back then. That was.
Our
yeah.
6-year is
Under two, right?
501 million.
Yeah, I think so.
Under 2 or right
Wait a
around?
minute, but yes, I believe so.
Yeah, but it wasn't, yeah.
I think
Is
they
that-
just asked to get our hearts going.
Yeah.
Yep. Make sure you guys are still breathing.
Yeah. Keep
But
us
your
awake.
6-year right now is $501 million.
Oh, really? You had to say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want you to know what you're looking at here.
Well, and no, but that's important because, this misnomer of, well, this is just 24 or 25. No. It's that total bill. And I learned that on that pool early on. I mean, and that thing still ain't paid for. I mean, that's just it. These projects seem so simple or so, oh, it's just, no. And then the maintenance and, you don't even get it paid for and you're redoing half the place.
Correct. You're,
Some of them are just the worst investments in the world. That it's a bill that just don't go away. It's never a one-time cost.
Nope.
So,
Unfortunately, you're correct. And then you have the operating portion of it with your staff and
Commissioner
maintenance.
Nauder taught me that 8 years ago. It was like somebody was giving us a building. He goes, ain't nobody giving you nothing. Because there's employees come with that and maintenance and everything else.
Yep.
And,
That's even with land. It's not free. There's always things, we have to insure it, we have to mow it, we have to take care of it.
No, it's the truth.
Yep,
It really is.
everything
And-
has a little price tag to it. But our bonding is 15 years on anything in the general fund, and then water and sewer is 25 years, so that's the time you'd pay off that debt.
And that's what I say, you're putting it on the next generation. You
Yes.
truly are, and so,
But we do have a policy where we cap that to try to keep that.
yes, and I give that all to Commissioner Hans when he came in. He said, come up with that number, and I think that was outstanding. Putting that line there,
Keeps us in check.
it sure did, because it then, you start going, well,
It's like limit on the credit card.
exactly right. No, I
Correct.
thought that was outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So that takes us to work sessions. Our first work sessions with Department of Planning and Zoning, electronic message center signs. Man, we're gonna reignite this fight.
Wow.
I remember this. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. With me is Judy Makel. She's the Deputy Director of Zoning.
And Rachel.
Oh, and Rachel. I didn't see Rachel.
Poor Rachel.
And
morning.
Rachel Shea, our zoning planner. Wonderful. I got lots of backup today. So I'm going to go ahead and read the memo because there's some good historical knowledge there that I'm not necessarily
You
going to
think we
cover.
forgot?
The current sign regulations located in Article 6 of the Calvert County zoning ordinance were adopted in 2018. We had actually started that in 2015. The regulations were updated due to the United States Supreme Court ruling on Reed versus the Town of Gilbert case. The ruling required that sign regulations be content neutral. Sign regulations cannot be written based on having to read the contents of the sign. During the 2018 update to the sign regulations, there were several work sessions to discuss where in the county electronic message center signs would be permitted. It was decided to allow EMC signs anywhere backlit signs were permitted in the previous regulations. This allowed EMC signs to be permitted in the Prince Frederick Town Center for building signs and freestanding signs on properties having frontage along Route 24, Deers Beach Road West, or 231 west of Route 24. Outside of the Prince Frederick Town Center, EMC signs are permitted as building signs and freestanding signs on properties zoned Employment Center, or EC, only along the road specified above. There are a few existing EMC signs not located in the Prince Frederick Town Center or EC property that were approved to replace existing backlit signs before the adoption of the 2018 sign regulations. Additionally, the towns of Chesapeake Beach and North Beach have many existing EMC signs. However, they have their own zoning regulations and are not regulated by the Calvert County zoning ordinance. Planning and zoning staff often receive inquiries from property owners wanting to install EMC signs. If the property does not meet the current criteria listed above, EMC signs are not permitted. This work session is to discuss if the commissioners would like to consider permitting EMC signs elsewhere in the county. This can be done by a text amendment to the Calvert County zoning ordinance or could be addressed during the update to the Calvert County zoning ordinance, which is scheduled to begin this spring. So with that, we're going to review the electronic message center signs, discuss locations that may be appropriate, determine how to process this by a text amendment or through the update of the zoning ordinance. So as I stated, these were current regulations were adopted in 2018 and are contained in Chapter 6 of the Calvert County zoning ordinance. The regulations were written to be content neutral as a result of the U.S. Supreme Court case. So I'm going to briefly go really quickly through various types of signs just so that you know all the different types of signs we do regulate. So permanent freestanding signs include directional signs, drive-up signs, freestanding signs, and subdivision signs. And those are all regulated differently as far as size, location, height. We also do permanent building signs, including canopy signs, awning signs, wall, and projecting signs. Electronic message center signs and reader boards. So the difference between the two is electronic message center sign, you don't physically have to walk up to the sign to change what it's going to say. Reader boards, you physically have to change out the letters. And we also regulate portable signs, including T-frame and A-frame signs. Temporary signs, not a lot of these were permitted before we updated the regulations. So we now allow air-activated, balloon, yard, blade, pennants, and banners in certain circumstances, certain locations, and there again, all the regulations are in Chapter 6 of the zoning ordinance. So, as I stated, electronic message center signs are only currently permitted in the Prince Frederick Town Center and in the EC, but only along properties having frontage along Route 24, Dares Beach Road West, or 231 west of Route 24. This is the actual language that's contained in Chapter 6 of the zoning ordinance, where we describe any signs that are, where backlit signs are permitted. We consider those to be electronic message center signs. That's the presentation. So if you'd like to have a discussion of places you'd want to allow additional EMC signs, or if you would rather wait and have a larger global discussion with the public when we're updating the ordinance, then we can talk about all different signs.
I just want to ask this, Mary Beth. So this was the biggest hot button issue I encountered when I first got here.
Sure.
And you kind of went over top of that with materials that were allowed. And you remember the policy was it's legal unless somebody complains. So you could have a sign, I could have one, but if you complained about me, mine was illegal. I mean, it was a mess. But we waited. Supreme Court was in the middle doing all that. With that said, now you cannot regulate content. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of public discussion, even made national news about signs in this county. Would this enable, so it goes through an electric, because there was, you know how much pushback there was on electric signs anyway, even though it was in other parts of the county, where somebody could put a message that somebody was inappropriate about, and it's doing this on Route 4. I mean, are you opening up the floodgates? I mean, I'm not dug in on either way. I'm asking questions. Are you opening up the floodgates for now all of a sudden, well, hey, I meet the criteria. I'm on Route 4, and you cannot regulate content. And if I just want to spend $20,000, and that, there are people that will, because I have a message I want to put out.
So this is no change. This is how the regulations stand today. So if someone has a property and a business along Route 24 and they want it, they can submit a sign permit, and we cannot regulate the content of that sign. That's
See,
correct.
right now, a paper sign or whatever, that's not that financial.
It's one thing.
Yeah. But once somebody drops that kind of money, and then whatever they choose to sell on that sign,
True.
because that programming can be changed at any given time. And I hate being like that. I don't like to tell anybody what to do. I really don't. And it's not government's job to try to guide bad behavior. But it's not the job to facilitate it either. So I know I'm walking that line there, but that's the door, I guess, right?
So we do regulate no flashing, and that there is some cadence for how the sign
7
can
seconds,
change.
right?
Something like that. Oh, I don't think we specifically say,
Oh, okay,
but
I
it's
thought-
to not
okay.
to be distracting. And correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. They do more review.
To the, there's an international sign association that creates some regulations, and we reference that, so they have to follow those.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how many seconds it was, but I remember it was something like along that line for message change.
7 seems about right.
Because you could kind of in your own way make it, and I just want to eyes wide open, because on the one side you appreciate a shopping center can take and get rid of all those signs that are everywhere, put it on one message board, clean the whole thing up. But we've seen human behavior. Look at Route 4 on the weekends. So I mean, just saying, and I mean, political signs are the worst. I'm part of that party. Political signs are the absolute worst. It's like a license to put it anywhere, and for how long, and it gets tore. I mean, remember former Commissioner Linda Kelly? She's called litter on a stick. Remember that?
Yes.
I mean, so it's been a problem forever. So
But we can't even regulate political signs because you have to read it.
Correct.
To know that
There it
it's a political
is.
sign, so that's
Correct. And
content.
once you have to read it, so
I'm not a fan of electric signs, and it's unfortunate that we have one, and so then everybody else sees that one, and they always say, "Well, I want one. I want one too." I understand businesses have to advertise to make sure that people know they're there. I'm just not sure that I need to know that today the car is discounted $200, and we've talked about the distraction for drivers, and I think when we went through this battle before, somebody made up a picture of Route 4 through Prince Frederick with flashing signs, although they're not allowed, but, you know, you start that step. So we expand electronic signs. Well, the next thing they're gonna want is flashing, because now everybody's got them, so mine's gotta stand out. And, you know, can't let Todd have one bigger than mine, and I just, you know, I'm not a fan of electric
Looking
signs.
like the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, that's exactly the
That's it.
analogy they used when we fought it the first time, and that's what the picture that was made up looked like. The Prince Frederick Vegas Strip of electric signs, and
So
we've
just.
been down this road. We have been down this road.
Mary Beth, do you think that what we have now in the regulations is adequate in order to make the rules for everyone, and there's no individual deviation? It will encompass everyone?
So really, now, we have 7 town centers, and it's only permitted in 1.
Okay.
So I think that's something that we could examine when we're going through the comprehensive rezoning and update to the zoning ordinance, is where else may it be appropriate? Maybe Solomon's doesn't want it, but maybe Dunkirk does. You know, those are the bigger conversations we need to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just so everybody's clear, we're going to start that process in April, correct?
That's the hope, yes.
Okay, and how long is that process going to take, that we'll have a,
We're hoping not longer than a year.
Okay.
So a year, 18 months max.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we could put public comment and get all that straight in that process?
Yes.
Okay.
I anticipate comment to be similar to as it was
Last
before.
time.
Uh-huh. And I don't mean to hurt anybody or anything like that, but Commissioner Hans brings up a good point, and then it's just, where does it end?
So you need some direction?
Yes, please.
Direction?
I'm not a fan. We're going to study this, so is that?
And, you know, Commissioner Hart and I have been down this road before, we know,
We haven't.
and you 3 have not. So if there's direction or information that you want staff to put together for you, I mean, you shouldn't base your opinions
On what we say.
on what we say, because we have been down this road before. So if there's information you all need or direction you want them to go in, now is your opportunity to provide that.
I would like a history of what has happened previously, what precipitated all the sign ordinances, and then what you're facing now. And so we can determine how we want the county to look with signage.
Okay.
And the other thing I had was a safety issue. Has there been any safety issues with the electronic signs?
Okay.
And can we limit when signs can be up and have to be taken down? Is that,
We'll review that with the county attorney as far as temporary signs. It would be any type of temporary sign, not specifically political signs. I think that's the direction you were going, so we could talk about that. Sure.
And we do hear a lot about the signs in the roads on Route 4 on weekends, and some people think that's legal. That is not legal. Just
not
reiterate
legal.
that every opportunity we get. They are illegal signs. But because state highway doesn't work on the weekends, they stick them up on Friday night, they take them down on Sunday night. So,
Didn't somebody tell us that there's actually a business now? Where
Oh, yeah,
there's a guy in
absolutely.
a business to where
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
put them out for you
Yeah.
and pick them up now.
there's several.
several, yes.
And years ago, before I was here, years ago, when they talked about working with state highway to ban those people came in and protested because they said that's how we make our living, is putting those signs up. So you're gonna get that. But just understand, we can only jurisdict what we can, which is county-owned property. So any of these businesses on state roads, there's different requirements and guidelines based on the state laws,
Yes.
so. So do you, any other, you have direction that you need?
Have direction.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
all right, thank you. So that brings us to the fun part of the day. The next item under work session is with the Calvert County Board of Education, their FY 2024 budget request. We have with us today Superintendent Townsell and Mr. Johnson, and if you brought anybody else, So we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning.
Hope I don't break this chair.
We'll find you another one.
Good morning, County Commissioners, Mr. Mark Willis. We'll jump right into it. Have Mr. Johnson with us. He's our Chief Financial Officer for Calvert County Public Schools. One of the most important responsibilities of the Calvert County Board of Education, in collaboration with the superintendent and staff, is to provide prudent fiscal management. It is very challenging at times. The proposed fiscal 2024 budget includes new cost pressures on multiple fronts. First, there is inflation that's approaching 40-year highs. Inflation is increasing cost pressures across the board in every school and in every department. Second, student transportation costs are increasing at an unprecedented rate. Third, the blueprint for Maryland's future requires additional salary adjustment for teachers. Teachers are required to receive a 10% salary increase occurring between June 30th, 2019 and July 1, 2024. The proposed budget includes salary increases needed to meet this blueprint mandate. Lastly, the proposed fiscal year 24 budget includes funding for comparable wage increases for support staff, other employee groups, and teachers not identified in the blueprint. These increases included in the proposed budget to ensure efficient operations of the school system and to provide equitable pay for our employees. The employees of Calvert County Public Schools have exemplified dedication and professionalism to ensure that the community has an exceptional school system. I shared this presentation that we have here with our Board of Education on January 26, 2023 this year. Before I jump right into the numbers, I would love to give you just a little background. Who do we serve? Who are our students, the population, and highlight some of our educators doing amazing things. Academics, athletics, and the arts. I call it the triple A's. We believe every young person falls into each one of those categories. And it's our goal to provide the best academic program possible, the best athletic experiences for our young people possible, and to also invest in the arts. Young people do well singing, dancing, theater, drawing, the whole nine. We want to ensure that every young person have an opportunity to maximize their potentiality. We serve approximately a little over 15,000 students, 48% female, 51% male. Looking at our racial demographics, you can see we're about 65% white, 13.7% African American, 10% multi-race, 8% Hispanic, 1.5% Asian, and you can see our percentage of American Indian, 0.18 and 0.12 for Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Our student achievement scores this last academic year, fiscal year, or school year 21-22, I'm highlighting elementary, middle, and high school where we excel the best. Looking at our ELA, that's our English test scores. As you can see, our third graders are currently ranked 5th in the state. Our eighth graders are ranked 4th in the state. And major shout out to high school because our high school 10th graders are ranked number 1 with regards to achievement on the MCAT scores. Looking at our student achievement data for math, 3rd graders are 4th in the state. Our 6th graders are 5th in the state. And looking at our high school algebra 2, we're 5th in the state.
Dr. Townsend, can I ask you a question? When I was going through this on slide 7 there, you know, Montgomery County and Baltimore County have a large population of children. For the numbers to be that high, they would have to really be wiping the floor with everybody else. Because, you know, if you have one kid and another kid does good, well, you're up 100%, right? But they have thousands of kids.
Oh, yeah.
This graph is accurate?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to see that big a gap. I mean, you know, you look at, you know, once it gets up to like where we are, you know, it's kind of steady, and there's some, you know, lower populations. I mean, there's a smaller populations. You can see that that don't, but even that would make me think that they would have higher scores because lesser kids. You know what I mean? Normally, like, when you're crunching numbers, the more people, it's hard to go up percentage, right?
Sure.
Where the few, so when I saw that, I'm like, Montgomery County and Baltimore County are doing that much better than the rest of the state?
They have high-quality student achievement in their school district. There's probably 10 or 12 Calvert counties within Montgomery County as far as how their young people are performing. And they're over 10 times, they're about 10 times the size of us.
I know, that's what makes it remarkable to me,
160,000
that
students.
to have that many kids, and I mean, that's just, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Numbers wise, that just jumped off the page of, just didn't seem right when I
It
saw
is right. They have an amazing school system.
Dr. Townsell, Catherine Grasso, I understand you can go on board docs, and the review of our test scores are not reflective of what you have here.
Correct. I highlighted where we're doing the best at.
Okay. English and math.
Yep, our 3rd grade,
Okay,
8th grade, and our 10th graders.
thank you.
What do you attribute that to?
Pardon?
What do you attribute that to?
Attribute what?
The 3rd grade was highlighted throughout, and so, so those other grades were all highlighted throughout. Why just those grades? do
You know,
think?
3rd grade is a very pivotal moment in education. A lot of times, in some areas, dropout rates are determined by 3rd grade achievement. So it's a very focused group. We have an amazing 3rd grade staff here in Calvert County Public School. The educators, the supervisors that support our elementary population they do a phenomenal job with that 3rd grade. The same way with our middle school population, our 8th graders are absolutely prepared to go into our high school. And when we take that MCAPS test at our high school level, our young people do a phenomenal job at that level. It's the in-betweens that we can really focus on to have high-quality teaching and learning. Across the state of Maryland, test scores have dropped, and it's also dropped in Calvert County Public Schools. I would attribute that to potential learning loss during the pandemic, a lot of the virtual learning, the asynchronous instruction. It was very challenging for a lot of populations across the country. We do believe that we have a budget designed to increase academic achievement over time.
So where are we missing the bar from the state level? We're currently ranked 11th, so we're missing that bar in the high school, middle schools,
I believe at all levels.
all
At
levels.
Wow, how are we helping students make up for the pandemic loss? What are you all doing to bring the kids back up to snuff? Do you have tutors who come in?
Our educators go above and beyond for our students. The first thing we did was went back to traditional schooling, no time loss. So no mask policy, nothing to prohibit or to cause any type of attendance concerns or issues. Opened up our schools completely, professionally developed our teachers, and our young people are rocking and rolling in the classroom. As a matter of fact, later this month and next month, we're testing for the MCAP again. We're very confident. We're very encouraged with the scores that we took with NWEA. We are very encouraged that our student achievement this time next year, we'll have something to celebrate.
Why are we still funding a virtual academy?
We still have young people and families who still look toward that service. Although it's a very small population of young people, that is something that we're going to consider at the district level as whether it's the appropriate return on investment for the population in which it serves.
Why do we have that? The pandemic is over. Why are we spending money on that?
Some of our families still, prior to my arrival, we have hundreds of families enrolled into the program. They thought it was best for their kids. And in some cases it is, but when you look at 16,000 kids compared to 100 students, I understand it has to be the appropriate return on investment. But our families that are in the program, that want to be in the program, see a value in it, and there is a value in it. But looking at a budget, looking at everything across the board, is it good for Calvert County as a whole?
What is the reason for this? Why would a parent keep a child home and deprive them of socialization, in-person help? When you look at the losses we've had because of the pandemic, why would anybody want to fund this and not get the children back to school so they can learn, socialize, and realize their potential. Why would we do this? What do the parents say? What is their reason for keeping these children home?
Parents think that that's the best instructional environment for their kids. As you know, we also offer alternative education in our school district. Every young person, although we have a traditional school system, but 100% of young people may not be in the traditional population. As you know, there's a percentage of our young people who are potentially in special education. Some of our young people require alternative education, and there's a small...
What would be alternative education? What would that look like?
Alternative education is for young people who may not succeed in the traditional setting, who need additional supports. Something called multi-tiered system of support, which is 75% is your universal population, about 20% is your targeted intervention, and 5% need that very intense support. So providing intensive support on all levels, behavioral, academic, and social and emotional.
As far as behavioral goes, you mentioned that. How closely do we follow our code of conduct for our students, and do we make referrals?
Yes, our educators follow our code of conduct, and our teachers do fill out referrals.
What do we do to a child who hits a teacher or throws water on them or something like that? What would be the course of action for that?
And so the process or the flow chart of that, the teacher would make a referral. That referral would get processed by administration. The administration would look at the discipline, look at the record of the young person, and provide the appropriate disciplinary action with parent involvement and communicate with that with the teacher. So our range of interventions or discipline that we have for students range from in-school suspension to out-of-school suspension to the ultimate of expulsion.
Oh, we still suspend them?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And I know that a lot of our teachers are not feeling safe within the school system. A lot of our teachers are feeling that the students are running the schools and the teachers are not supported by the administration. Just to make you aware,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
hear that all the time, and that is so wrong on all levels.
Well, I'll say, one of the privileges I have of being the superintendent is I've been in every last school. Most recently, yesterday, I was at Huntingtown High School, not only visiting a student, but just being in the midst of the climate and culture of the school. I think Calvert County Public Schools have a phenomenal school system. Our teachers are teaching at a high level. Our administrators are working with teachers to increase academic achievement on instruction, and we're holding our young people accountable with behaviors. I know that there's a narrative, and I listen to it and I respond to it, but I am confident that we have a phenomenal school system, especially if we compare it to other systems in the state of Maryland. Are we perfect? No. Perfection is unattainable, but through the pursuit, we will find excellence. And I'm confident that over time, we'll get better and better and better from where we started, for sure.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then where was I on the presentation?
Slide.
Student enrollment, this is very important. As you can see, we have a little over 15,000 students. We project about the same, maybe a couple, 10, 12 more in the upcoming academic year, but we will be over 15,000 students. Set the bar, meet the bar, exceed the bar, raise the bar. Repeat, repeat, repeat. If you do that, you get better over time. That is one of the quotes that I share with our team all the time. It's a philosophy that we work with. And this is the bar. This year is the bar, and the goal is to meet it in the upcoming year. Let's get better over time, and I think we'll have something to celebrate. I would like to highlight
Can I just interrupt you?
Yes, ma'am.
I read that, and I'm a very strategic person. What does this mean? I mean, are you approaching this strategically with a mission statement, a bar to achieve with outcomes? Do you have a certain level of outcomes that you hope to reach every year so you can measure how you are setting the bar, meeting the bar, exceeding and raising the bar? Because without that, these are just words.
Yes, ma'am. So specifically looking at student achievement data, if we have 75% of our students proficient or advanced, what I tell my administrative team is we get better. I don't care if it's 1% better, let's just get better. So I want to say guarantee, but I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. The goal is to get at minimum 1% better every year. At minimum. We're not going to go backwards. We're going to move forward. So it just means better with our data. If we have 100 fights, next year, 95. Following year, 90. Following year, 85. Just getting better over time. Nothing will ever be perfect, and we know that. But can we reduce the frequency? Absolutely. Can we reduce or increase the amount of young people advanced or proficient? No doubt. Especially as we're emerging from a pandemic. I'm very excited about what our data say in the upcoming year.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to highlight our Teacher of the Year for this school year, 22-23, has been Ms. Rachel Ulmer. I had an opportunity to see her in action multiple times, and she's really doing a phenomenal job over at Huntingtown High School. She does serve on our Teacher Advisory Council. Additionally, I'd like to highlight our nurse at Plum Point Middle School, Ms. Dana Smith. She's doing a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, when I went to the school, I seen her in action working with one of our young people, and I understand how she earned Support Person of the Year. Staff highlights 68% of our Calvert County Public School teachers have a master's degree. 13% of our Calvert County Public School teachers have already received their national board certification, and currently 61 teachers are pursuing their national board certification. There's budget implications to that. As you know, mandated in the blueprint, we have to pay a $10,000 bonus to every teacher that's nationally board certified. So I just want to put that out there.
Is that one time or is that annual?
Annual. Yeah.
And the monies we put in that fund and they don't achieve it within that year, does it stay in that line item or does it revert back to the next year's funding?
It stays in line, but if it's not used, it comes in fund balance.
Yeah, it stays in the line item. If it's not used, it does go into our fund balance.
Great.
Yes.
Is there a requirement that teachers get their masters after a certain period of time?
No, it's not a requirement that you get your master's. It's encouraged. Obviously, on the salary scale, teachers earn more when they have a higher education.
Because I had heard that. I was talking to somebody about being a teacher, and I said, you get your 4-year degree, get your certification. And then they said, no, there's a time limit that you have to go get your master's, and that deterred them of wanting to be. But so you're saying someone could get their 4-year degree, get certified teaching, and they could teach for the rest of their career without having to get a master's?
I'll be happy to look into that. If that's what they're telling you, let me look deep into that.
Because I've heard that a couple times,
Okay.
and that kind of scared them off of wanting to be a teacher.
Fiscal stewardship examples. Schools are designed, here's some examples of fiscal stewardship right now in Calvert County Public Schools. Our schools are designed with energy savings in mind. There's a computer donation program that saved our taxpayers dollars. We have energy management systems in most of our schools, and those reduce the utility costs, and our goods and services are competitively bid to minimize costs.
Is there a dollar amount where you don't require a bid?
I think, is it less than 25,000?
Yes.
25,000. Budget goals and guiding parameters. The goal is to provide a safe environment for all students and staff, first and foremost, to maximize educational opportunities for students, to continue helping students make up pandemic learning loss, to attract and retain high-quality instructional and support staff, to fulfill local, state, and federal requirements, for example, the blueprint, to honor current collective bargaining agreements, and to provide excellent fiscal stewardship for Calvert County Public School taxpayers. The big story is the blueprint changes. We've heard it for years, ladies and gentlemen, that the blueprint is coming, and there are changes for students, changes for staff, budget challenges, and funding implications, for example, the staff salary increases.
Guys, do we have a number yet on a percentage? So if I'm a teacher and I make $80,000, what is my increase? Do we have that number yet?
Percentage-wise?
Mm-hmm. Percentage-wise. I mean, we know about the mandate to get to 60, but pre-existing teachers that have time in, say that are at 80, what is their new salary now?
They previously negotiated a 1% salary increase, plus the proposed budget includes increase of an additional 2.75% this summer, beginning this summer, and 2.75% additionally next.
So it's about 6.5 if you
yes,
add it all
approximately,
together, not
plus
including
step
steps and
increases.
COLAs. Not including steps and COLAs, correct?
The 1% was the COLA.
Was the COLA,
Yes.
but not including a step?
That does not include steps, but the teachers who are eligible for steps would, of course, receive those next fiscal year.
Right, so it would be 6.5, say if I was at 80, I'd get 6.5% over a year. Am I hearing that right? Calendar to calendar, is that right? And then a step on top of. Because I was wondering, because, we have had those, several discussions. I knew about the mandate to 60, but what about the pre-existing teacher? Where are they on that? So, okay, so it's,
Yeah, and I want to be clear, the 60% minimum, that's July 1, 26.
26.
60,000, what did I say? It's like, the $60,000 minimum must be in place by July 1, 2026.
Okay.
Blueprint-related challenges for students included in the budget. The student-related changes are the advanced placement testing, career and college readiness costs, CTE certification of students, dual enrollment costs for students, pre-K from half-day to full-day for our 4-year-old students. We must pay those costs. So for example, every advanced placement test, we have to pay that. Every certification, we have to pay that. Dual enrollment costs, we have to pay that. I'm in conversation with Charles County and St. Mary's County Superintendent in collaboration with the College of Southern Maryland to see how we can support with our workforce development and also talk about dual enrollment as well.
That's a great program. You're talking like when you're like a senior in high school and
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a fantastic program. Mm-hmm.
So talking about pre-K, how is a community-based pre-K going to look like as far as funding-wise?
So we're projecting the amount of pre-K students that will be coming in, and the goal is to have a program at all 13 of our elementary schools. Now, we do understand that there is for-profit pre-K programming in Calvert County Public School. The goal is not to compete, is to work with and just ensure all of our young people are getting pre-K education. But what we're proposing in this budget is 12 pre-K assistants in addition to 1.5 pre-K teachers, because by the blueprint, we must offer full-day pre-kindergarten.
And when does that go into effect?
Fall 23.
This fall?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I'm currently operating a pre-K, what do I have to do to get certified to be qualified for that?
If
I'm operating a pre-K now in my home or at my church, what do I have to do to get qualified for the?
I'm unsure. I'm happy to get back and then provide that answer.
And what I'm hearing is a lot's not going to do it because they're being put under the same challenges pay-wise for their teachers, and they can't afford it.
Yeah, that is a part of it. We will offer, a competitive salary, and it will be hard to compete. But again, this is a mandate. It's not us looking to bring in pre-K and forget about what's already.
We just don't want to let them kids be left behind.
Absolutely. We just have to offer a program for the young.
What does the room look like for,
It's an elementary classroom.
No, we have plenty of room, though, that's what I'm saying. There's plenty.
So we are currently identifying space at all of our buildings. We do have campuses with a lot of room, and some campuses it may be a little challenging, but we will find a space.
Okay.
Got to mix and match, look at the master's schedule, and we'll find a space.
So you already have half-day pre-K, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to have those kids all day. Are you projecting new students that are going to come into the system because of this?
Yes. And the way to project out in the future as well as looking at the birth rates, working with Calvert Health, identifying, how many births have we had during the pandemic that are going to be pre-K eligible fall 24 as 4-year-old. So it's a process. It's a formula that we need to develop that we already have in place for how we do kindergarten. We just have to bump it back for pre-kindergarten.
Do you have a projection yet for what that looks like? That
Not
number?
officially, no, but our team is working on it.
And the children will get on the bus, correct?
Yeah, they'll be bus eligible.
Which that's another challenge all in itself, because I believe last year we still had a shortage of buses, if I was correct.
We added I don't want to misspeak, but I know
Sure.
some routes were added.
Two last fall and two recently.
Added 2 routes last fall and 2 the spring semester.
Yes, this is
It's a
difficult.
challenge.
It
It's
is,
a
it is, right, right.
How many children per class?
19 roughly?
19? And what if more parents want to get into this? What's the cutoff? What's the criteria?
According to our bargaining agreement, I believe it's 25, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak. I don't have the literature in front of me, but I believe it's 25.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Budget-related challenges for staffing included in the budget. Teachers must receive a 10% salary increase from FY20 to FY24. The minimum teacher salary must be at least $60,000 by July 126. We must create a career ladder for our teachers, national board certification track and salary impact, and pre-K from half-day to full-day for our 4-year-old students.
And today, our minimum starting teacher salary is 50-something.
We can bring that back. I don't want to misspeak. I think it's 53,000, but I don't have
I
it in
think
front of me.
I think I've heard somewhere in
it's
that
low
ballpark,
50s.
yeah.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark.
So we're closer than a lot of jurisdictions.
Currently, we're pretty much up there with regards to what we pay our teachers. I do have a slide in here that shows where we rank for our teachers, and I'll be able to share that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Our challenges are, in our 24 budget, it includes a request for a larger than usual amount of budget support from Calvert County government. Our state aid revenue amounts have been proposed but not finalized by the state for FY24. Our state's blueprint is adding new cost pressures to all public school districts. Various blueprint requirements are still being disseminated and clarified, and corresponding estimates are being updated as new information arrives. There's large increases with our student transportation, and the inflation pressures are current and future. It's just hard to predict.
Have the bus drivers given you any budget for this coming school year?
Yeah, we do have within our budget, transportation is included.
It's in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How
Look-
significant is it?
That's a 45% increase in our
Increase?
transportation budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna go to this because I can barely see up there, so I have my slides in front of me here. Estimated related costs, so I want you to pay attention to the salary and benefits for our teachers. There's a 5.5% salary increase. We're also requesting from our county government an increase for our CASA, CASE, and Meet and Confer employees. So we're looking at administrators, all of our education support specialists, and those individuals who are on Meet and Confer contracts, in addition to estimated costs for our nationally board certified teachers. So as you know, if we have 10, then that means we need, the amount of money for that. Staffing additions for Blueprint, we need 1.5 teachers and 12 instructional assistants. And last, other requirements are for advanced placement testing, career technical certification, and dual enrollment. So Blueprint cost alone, not us putting together a budget, just with the mandates that are in place, we're talking about $9.9 million blueprint-related costs. And I just want to be clear, we as a school district would like to support our educators that are not defined in the blueprint. So for example, Blueprint, I'm talking about classroom teachers. As you know, we have counselors, we have social workers, we have phenomenal education support specialists that are not mandated to get raises, so we're proposing that for them as well.
So this is a firm number for the estimated blueprint for fiscal year '24?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the other employees, I see a one-step advance, 1% salary increase. And this, who does this include again? Like your counselors and teaching assistants?
Yep, yes, ma'am. Anyone that's not teaching in the classroom but work in our school district.
Okay.
I was surprised that Maryland didn't include that, because support staff is so vital. They really are. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're in and out of the schools, especially in the evening, it's support staff that's in there. I was really surprised that, I mean, you know, if the goal is the education level across the state, you know, to pick it up, or so to speak, they're just as vital. My 20%, whatever I know about things, but I mean, you know, it's a small town, you get to know a lot of these folks, and I mean, they do a lot of the dirty work. They really do. I mean, so I was just surprised that Maryland wouldn't include them. I don't like when it's like, well, you always hear like doctors and nurses fight, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? It's like, to me, both are vital to get the job done.
They are a significant part of the team, and we cannot do the work without them, for sure.
And they're truly mentors to those students.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
A lot of times, that's who the kids see.
man, those
You know.
cafeteria workers particularly, I mean, they stick out, you know, that, you know, the custodians. I mean, it goes right on down the
Absolutely.
line.
How many do you still friends today
Yeah,
that you were when you were a
absolutely.
kid? You know, I mean, so that's.
We went to school with a lot of them.
The lunch staff was my favorite people, probably because I'm 300 pounds. They were amazing. I mean, you know them. You know, they're real good people. That's right.
You were back for seconds.
Oh, man. And they looked out for me, probably when they shouldn't have.
I don't usually tell stories, but I've only been here a short time, but I can tell you, when my husband was in third grade at Catholic school and a nun was chasing him, the custodian hit him out, so he still remembers.
They're good people. They're good people.
How come that custodian? I wish he'd have gone to the Catholic school I went to. I could have used his help.
So this slide here is just a reiteration. 1% step advance for teachers, 1% salary increase previously negotiated, and the 5.5% salary increase. The way we're going to pay that is 2.75% at the beginning of the school year and 2.75% in March of '24 to meet the blueprint requirement of 10% by June 30th, '24. And again, for other employees, we want to honor their one-step advance, give them their 1% salary increase, which was previously negotiated, and look at wage and salary increases that are comparable by employee groups to the teacher's pay increase. So I want to share, I know for example, Case, they want us to put in writing that they're going to get this in the upcoming year. I'm not able to give that to them in writing because I don't have it to give them. But as a team, you know, we're working hard to advocate for them. And, you know, if we can do it, I'm just sharing this with our commissioners, if we can bless our other employees not defined in the blueprint, that would do major positives for Calvert County Public Schools, because we know as administrators, without those individuals, a lot of high-quality teaching and learning will not happen.
Well, I understand the mistrust, so I came in on the red shirt days.
Okay.
And,
You wore a red shirt.
Well, yes, I
You
did.
wore a red shirt.
Yeah, and so I completely understand, and there was a separation. You know, I'm glad to see both sides are working together, but when I first came on, but I don't know, and that's an attorney question, I don't even know if you're able to provide written things like that. I don't know, nothing I've ever been a part of.
Right.
So I don't even know if that is a
And we're
legal
working well together, to
possibility,
be
but.
honest, but it's a trust thing, and I tell them, hey, we're working on it, but, you know, people want to make sure that they're taken care of, so I understand for sure.
Yeah, the ghosts of the past still live in the building. I still hear stuff from retirees that, you know, talk about past steps and stuff, and I get it. I said, look, you know, it's nothing I can do that happened 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I mean, I can only affect what I do today going forward, but, so I understand the mistrust.
For sure.
So we're working on the '24 budget, and a 10% salary for a starting teacher is going to give them $5,300, if that's the number. So that gets them up to 58 by the end of '24. So then you have 2 years to get them to 60.
We'll be a lot closer to that 60 because where we already were paying well. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
And
So
the steps should take it there.
steps
future
don't
years.
count.
No, steps count, right?
The steps count towards the 60?
If they're at 58 this year and then next year they get a step and it takes them over 60, doesn't that meet the qualification?
So let me just clarify what President Hans is asking. That $60,000, that's for first coming out of college.
Yeah.
You know, walking in at
Right.
60,000.
Right.
Educators that are making less than that, is that what you're saying? Like if they're at 58, they've been working for 5 years, you know, do we automatically bump them up to 60? That's not what the,
No, I'm saying that if we give them 10% this year, that gets them to 58. The next year, they only need a $2,000 bump to get them to 60, right?
We're not requesting a 10% increase for,
No, well, okay,
Yeah,
my man.
so-
So 5% over 2 years gets them, okay, I'm sorry, was my mistake.
But I think like the question I have is like, let's say I'm at 58. Say after this year's budget, after steps and everything, I'm at 58. And next year I get a step, and the step would take me past 60. Does that satisfy the blueprint? Or do I have to get, or do you, I have to get $2,000 and then a step on top of that? I mean, it sounds to me, and like I say, there's a lot of verbiage in this document, that once you hit 60, you've satisfied Maryland's requirement.
so yeah, so teachers that are working, a certified teacher will not be making less than $60,000.
Right, but if I'm at 50 and then my annual step comes in, it takes me to 60, say,
So
does
you're
that
right.
satisfy
Is
the
that like something we
blueprint?
have to give them? I don't believe the legislation says that.
Okay.
We just have to have a floor of 60.
That's what I
Does
thought.
that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly, that's what I thought. Okay.
All right, teacher salary rankings across Maryland. It's important to look at this. For our bachelors, we're not in the top 8. For masters, we are 8th. The average teacher makes around $70,000 with a master's degree. And when you look at our master's max, we're ranked 5th.
So how do we rate across the state with our support staff and our administrators?
I can get that information for you.
Okay.
I think, we do pay competitively.
Okay.
So I would.
I just, you know.
Yeah, no problem. I think it would pretty much mirror, you know, the range, but I'm happy to find out.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Transportation costs increase, as you can look and see over the past, 8 years, almost 10 years, where our transportation costs have been, where it's been in the last 3 years. It has increased 45% over the last 5 years. Future Ready, district-wide technology initiative. We're asking for $2.6 million in this upcoming year. This is a part of the 5-year investment of $10.3 million. This is the 5th year of Future Ready for our schools. Our goal is to ensure that we have technology in all of our young people's hands from kindergarten to 2nd grade. Those young people do not have access to their own technology. It is 3rd grade through 12th, however. Yes, sir.
Is this the last year of 5? Did you say that, or is this the first year of 5?
This is the final year. This is the final year, because they've been working on this. This is the 5th year. This is the 5th.
So what is that 2.6 for?
What we're requesting for Future Ready for our technology costs, all of our technological upgrades.
New computers?
New computers, yes, sir. Increase from FY 23-24, our operation and facilities is a $1.3 million cost increase there. When we look at our employee benefits, retirement, health insurance, dental, vision insurance, life insurance, Social Security, and workers' compensation, that's a $4.2 million increase from last fiscal year.
So you've all gotten your rates from Care First?
based on estimates.
These are based on estimates.
So what'd you base that on? Because last year you had a rebate, right?
It was
How much
based-
was the rebate?
A little over $1 million, I believe. And the estimated increase for next year that was built into the budget was an 8% increase.
Is 8% 4.2 million?
The 4.2 includes increases in retirement to reflect the increased salaries and wages. also includes anticipated dental and vision insurance increases and the life insurance cost increases that are associated with the salary and wage increases, and of course the corresponding increases in mandated benefits like Social Security and workers' compensation.
So there is a breakdown in the book of the 4.2, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. The total wage and salary increase from fiscal year '23 and FY '24 is $14.1 million. That includes all of the blueprint, help, salary, wages, all the benefits. That's the entire total.
And support staff?
Yes, sir. With support staff, teachers, anyone not identified in the blueprint. Unrestricted revenue by funding source, 63% of our revenues come from our county appropriation. Less than 0.5% comes from the federal government, about $750,000. From the state, 38.9%. And any other local or grants, about $510,000, which is 0.2%. Our unrestricted revenue funding source, if you can see the last column, that's the change of $24.9 million from what was adopted in the last academic year, last fiscal year compared to now. That's a $24.9 million increase, which includes the $14 million from salary, the staff or the blueprint, or teachers not identified in the blueprint. And I'm going to share what the other information is for. So, okay, so now here, if the blueprint was not in place, trying to be the best school system possible with regards to human capital, the data that was said about our student achievement, invested in safety and security, we're looking at the administration level to add an additional two assistant principals at our high school. Northern High School, Huntingtown High School has 4 assistant principals. Calvert High School, Patuxent High School has 3 assistant principals. We're looking to have 4 across the board to add an assistant principal at Calvert and an assistant principal at Patuxent. The need is definitely there. I know some of the information you may hear come from, some of those campuses you hear from. We just want to ensure that we're on point there. When you look at the administration changes, those are IT support specialists. So we had in the previous years been paying salaries of those individuals out of our IT budget, but it was a grant. That money has dried up. That work still needs to be done. Those are valuable employees to us. We're absorbing that in our general fund. That's why it's added here. The instructional salary and wages, if you look at that third row, that is for our pre-K instructor, the 1.5 teacher and the 12 pre-K assistants. That's what that 13.5 makes up. When you look at student services, that is our support safety advocates for our middle school. We have 6 middle schools, but only 3 safety advocates. So 1 safety advocate is sharing 2 schools. We need a safety advocate at every one of our middle schools to ensure we can get climate and culture under control, meaning behavioral supports, working as safely as possible, especially with our resource officers. We need 1.5 bus assistant to support our student transportation. In capital outlay and maintenance plan, you see that -1 and that 1. We just transferred the position from one to another, so it's not an addition. It's just showing that we moved the position from our maintenance to our capital outlay team. But that's a total of 28 additional positions. Again, 13.5 of that is mandated by the blueprint with the pre-K, full-day pre-K. Our proposed budget.
So.
Yes, sir. Go back to that, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You said there's 13.5 mandated positions because of blueprint.
That's the pre-K. That's
because of prepay.
1.5 teacher and 12 pre-K assistants for every elementary school.
But you have a total of 71.64 new positions.
Do you want to explain what these?
Yes. Near the bottom of the far right column, you'll see that there's a total positions restricted fund, 43.44. Those are grant funded. So the 71 point, I can't read the last two digits.
64.
Thank you. 71.64 figure includes the 43.44 that would be funded by the grant fund. So almost 2/3 of the total 71.
So these are 43 new grant-funded positions?
Yes, including 20 teachers, 20 or 22 teachers that are funded by a new grant.
And how long is this grant?
I believe it is approximately 2 years, but I'd be happy to verify.
And then what happens when the grant runs out in 2 years?
So we're very clear that these are grant-funded positions, meaning the money is not guaranteed. So if you see where administration that says 8.2, we did not do that there. And that's why we're absorbing those jobs in this upcoming year. They were not made aware that those are grant-funded positions. We need the work. It's great work. Those individuals have been with us a number of years. But as we move forward, grant-funded positions are grant-funded positions. If the money is not there, the position is not there.
But that's the problem. You know, grants are wonderful things. We all use grants, but then you hire these people on a grant, and 2 years from now, I'd be willing to bet a certain amount of money, you're gonna be sitting right here saying, we need to absorb these 22 people, because the work they do is really important, and we can't afford to lose them.
That's what's happening with that IT position. That's not going to happen with those positions.
You know this meeting's being recorded, and 2 years from now, I'm gonna play back where you just said those 22 positions are gonna go away.
Yeah,
Because
now
they won't be
can-
important in 2 years, they're
Well, I
only
won't say
important
that.
now.
I want to say they will have the opportunity to apply for other jobs in the district. If there is definitely a need that we have to have, if it's worth advocating for, we will do that. But, you know, the way the contract shall be written is that this is a grant-funded position that lasts approximately 2 years. If the money doesn't exist, the position doesn't exist.
So the restricted fund, the 43.4 are grant-funded positions. The 28.2 are non-grant.
Yes, sir.
General funded positions.
Yes, sir.
So over half of those are not blueprint required.
Yes, sir.
So I'm glad to hear you say that is written in the contract that way, because what happens is, after the 2 years, is all of a sudden it becomes, well, I got let go by the school system today. They didn't fund, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that's clearly defined. We've experienced some of those things from time to time, and, you know, and because Commissioner Hans is right, grants go away and they're there for a specific purpose, you know, so not necessarily a long-term solution. So
Correct.
I'm glad to hear you say that it is especially written in that contract when they come on.
Yes, sir.
So the grant-funded teachers, there's 20 or 22. Is that what we said in their new hires for this year?
Say it one more again. I'm sorry.
So you said there was 20 or 22 teachers.
Oh,
that were
yes, in the
grant-funded.
restrict, yes, sir.
Are they new hires for this year?
This is what we're proposing for the upcoming year. Yes, sir.
What are they teachers in what areas? Are they all over the gamut? I mean, what's?
They are, I can get that back to you from our chief academic officer. I don't want to misspeak here, but it's positions that we apply for all the time. There's money always out there to improve a school system, and we go after those funds. Budget unknowns for fiscal year '24, starting with revenue. We still don't know our actual state aid allocation and our actual grant award amount. With regards to expenditures, our actual blueprint-related costs, actual employee health insurance costs, and actual September 2023 enrollment. We do have a projection, but the actual is what we're looking for, in addition to our actual utility costs and degree days. Our children are our only hope for the future, but we are their only hope for their present and their future. That was from Zig Ziglar. Our budget, and I think I'm at the end of the slide, and then we'll field any questions you have. Our budget calendar for this academic year, as you know, in October is when our budget development began, based on staff requests and our estimated revenue. I shared this presentation with our Board of Education on January 26th. Between that time and March 16th, the Board of Education were constantly receiving comments regarding the budget. On March 23rd, our Board of Education proposed budget must be approved and submitted to our county government for inclusion in the county's budget. As you know, last Thursday, we did have a budget work session with our Board of Education to, ask, I think we've probably fielded, ladies and gentlemen, probably over 300 questions about the budget. The goal is to be as transparent and open as much as possible, so we can do the best we possibly can for Calvert County Public Schools. And very last in June, after the county approves the budget, the Board of Education will have the opportunity to adopt the budget. We are very, very aware how challenging this is for the county, but we are Team Calvert, and we are definitely confident collectively we'll get something done for our community. And I want to share this for anyone that's watching. There's still a written comment period. Written comments will be accepted in two ways by U.S. mail. You can send it to Calvert County Public Schools Board of Education, copy Karen Maxey at 1305 Dares Beach Road, Prince Frederick, Maryland, 20678, or by email at boemeetingfacilitator@calvertnet.k12.md.us, and we'll be accepting that information through March 16th of 2023. Let's come on with more.
Let's go back to the grants.
Yes, sir.
Have the grants already been applied for, approved? Where do they stand?
Yep, applied for, and
Money in hand?
it doesn't come until the
Okay.
fiscal year. Yes, sir.
What you're waiting on? So we're to that point on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just a comment. There's very little money put into special education. That concerns me. Or what kind of outcomes are we getting with our special education children?
Yes. This academic year, we do have Dr. Kendi Anderson, who's a new special education director with our district, who works extremely hard with our special education supervisors. She did work with her team to develop a budget. We've shared that budget with our Board of Education, and we're confident with her team and the team that she's working with the teachers, the specialists, the supervisors, that we will get great outcomes with our young people. One thing we were cited for in the past, prior to my arrival, was how we handle seclusions and restraints, which is prohibited by Maryland State Department of Education. We've been on top of that big time, reducing our non-compliance with regards to that. Additionally, working with our IEP processes, ensuring that all of our young people who receive special education support have updated individualized education plans, working closely, monitoring behavior, identifying if young people are exhibiting behaviors. Is it a manifestation of their disability or not? Something called an MDR review, manifestation determination review. And we have a great team in special education. That is one subgroup that I'm happy to see what their academic achievement looks like when they take the MCAP assessment. When we break up all of our, out of the 15,000 students that test, we look at all subgroups, from special education to black students to our white students to our McKinley-Vento students. We look at all ranges of students that we support, and I do think we have a good special education department.
I know when I was running for this position, that was one thing I heard throughout my campaign, that we can do better with special education. And test scores for special education students, while that is great, there are so many other variables that have to be addressed, and I hope that we have in place and those services for these children and their parents, because it's very important. It is a challenge. They are not to be overlooked. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. And we do support special education big time.
So, a couple questions. We can't go out to lunch or dinner without people asking us about Playbook.
Yes, sir.
So I know we talked the other day about a couple different programs you might interject this coming year. So on page 68, we have behavioral support for $860,000, and then we have workforce development for $923,800. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, you told me the other day you're going to address the Board of Ed on how playbook
Yes.
played out. Can you give us a little heads up on that, or would you rather wait till Thursday?
I want
and-
I want our board to hear that information first. That's on this Thursday at our Board of Education
Okay,
meeting.
just so everybody's aware that, you
Yes.
know, you are going to, you know.
Yes, sir. So let me just be clear. You hear it, I hear it, about discipline in our classrooms and discipline in our school. I have to do something about it. You know, there are programs that exist. There are people that exist. There are opportunities for our students that exist out there. You know, I don't want to put an extra burden on our teachers. Our teachers are working hard now. You know, this is potentially burnout season. You have spring break coming up, but March is a long stretch until you get to spring break. Looking at playbook, instantly I had to do something for our secondary schools. You heard like I heard, or you saw like I saw, the concerns and the complaints. My background is in secondary education. I was a high school principal and assistant superintendent that supported secondary education. I worked at the central office in DC Public Schools as a specialist of student discipline and school climate. If it's one thing I do well, it's climate and culture and student discipline. What I tell our team is as climate and culture goes, so goes curriculum and instruction. So the playbook, I did something instantly to inject some support at our secondary level. What I shared with our Board of Education at our previous board meeting is looking at, let's compare apples to apples. Fights, assaults, students assaults on adults, students assaults on each other, potential sexual assaults. We're down right now as a district compared to this time last year, the year prior, the year prior, the year prior. I do believe it's because the intentional talk and support of how are we disciplining our young people or intervening when our young people are out of line with our code of conduct. And this upcoming year, I'm asking for about $860,000 for behavioral support. Now, we projected that cost of what it would cost the playbook. For example, if I did that at all secondary schools, every high school and every middle school, where most of the behaviors are. But because that's a nice chunk of change, if we spread that across all of our schools, we're talking about roughly a $34,000 investment at all 25 of our schools to support climate and culture or behavior. Something shall be done, must be done. And there's multiple things out there. When I was a principal, when I worked at the central office in the District of Columbia, when I was an assistant superintendent, Safe in Civil Schools, which is based out of Portland, Oregon, they have something called CHAMPS, or Discipline in the Secondary Classroom. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a social and emotional curriculum that I'm familiar with in the past, one of the highest rated, called Positive Actions, which teaches how young people should respond in times of difficulty. Some support needs to be out there for our teachers as a resource, because I don't want anyone saying, things are happening, what are we doing about it? What are we doing? What I'm doing about it is getting the best program I know that's battle tested, battle approved, putting it in a beautiful district like Calvert County, and rising up. Our goal and hope for Calvert County Public Schools, by the grace of God, in the next 3-4 years, is be top 1, 2, or 3 school district. And I'm not interested in 2 or 3, to be honest with you. We can be a top school district in the state of Maryland because of the talent that we have at the administrative level, the teacher level, the education support level, the district level. We have a lot of talent, a lot of engaged parents, as you see. There are social media groups out there that's very engaged. But we pull all that together. Why can we not be the top school system in the state of Maryland? There's no excuse. That's what I tell the team. There's no excuse for the complaints we hear about behaviors or the lack of academic achievement. There's no excuse for it. And by the grace of God, ladies and gentlemen, over time, I'm confident with the team we have, with the requests that we're asking, we're going to be fine in 2, 3, 4 years for sure.
So go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead. So you talk about behavior and safety. Can you just enlighten us a little bit on how do you feel we rate in the safety of our schools? It was, I had a lady call me yesterday, and she said that her child was afraid to eat at school because he didn't want to go to the restrooms during the lunch because we lock them down. We only leave 2 open. Do we do that in the middle schools and elementary schools too, or is that only high schools that we?
I can look into that. I'm not sure. I've not heard of us locking down bathrooms.
Okay, because they only kept 2 bathrooms open during the lunch break, so that's, it was just
So
disturbing.
for example, let me say Patuxent High School, for example. They have 1,300 students, one lunch period. You have an open campus, 1,300 young people going to an A or B lunch with free access. You know, our administrators must do what they need to do to ensure safety and security. Young people are young people. So I do trust what our administration is doing to support student safety at our schools, but I'm happy to look and see if anything is wrong that's being done. I've not heard that's not come to my desk.
Okay.
School resource officers seem to play a significant, and your safety advocates.
Yes.
Significant role in behavior changing. They're there every day.
Let me tell you, we love our resource officers, and I know that's a budget thing too. Personally, let's say if I had a wish list, if I could have one in every school building, I love that. We always have a great working relationship with our county sheriff's office. I do work or see often our resource officers at all of our schools engage with kids, great relationships with kids. When I was a high school principal, my resource officer was like a counselor to the kids. He's playing basketball, he's doing
Absolutely.
home. That's what our resource officers do here as well too. I was speaking with Sheriff Cox and said, hey, do we ever consider going to NASRO, the National Association of School Resource Officers?
Those guys have gone there in the past.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'd like to send our principals with the resource officer because they're a unit. They work closely together, and they deal with some of the, top tier support, young people that need support. Those resource officers are invaluable. So I love them. They work well with us. What we can do on our front is with the safety advocates, but having that extra layer of support just ensures safety. Because Lord forbid if something terrible was to be considered in this community, I know that we have support that's going to shut down any threat.
That when I saw the behavioral $860,000 request, that's right where I went. I mean, to me, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck if you did salaries because they're there every single day. They're a mentor to these kids. And one of my questions to you was, could this funding go towards safety advocates?
A portion of it absolutely can. I'm going to tell you why. So the 12 resource officers that we have, or I think the 13 that we have in our school district, with our memorandum of understanding that we have, I think we pay a little under $200,000 for the support that we're receiving based on how the MOU is written. We pay for all the vehicles, all of the equipment, all of this, all of that, all of this. We can double that, you know what I mean, which would give us 24 resource officers with the terms of the MOU. I'm happy to redesign and see what that looks like with our county sheriff's department, and I support resource officers. So whatever we can do, using some of the funds that we receive from our county, I support that.
What I'm saying is, don't you think that with them being there every single day, that school resource officer, that safety advocate, that you have more of an opportunity to deter a lot of the bad behaviors with them being present versus the program that, the playbook?
I don't think it's either or. I think it's both and. I think we need both because there's, an officer, like a principal, is one person. You're talking about a school of 1,200 and 10% needs high-level support, hard on one person. But if you have a system, one thing we have in Calvert County Public Schools, something called a multi-tiered system of support. It's MTSS, hate to use education jargon, but if you look at behavior, academic, and the social and emotional makeup of our young people, we can do that at an instructional level and ensure that's embedded in our curriculum, embedded in our transitions in our schools, and that resource officer is an extra layer of support in the event that something is outside of what we offer as an instructional program.
But he influences those kids every single day, not just a speaker coming in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Having
Yeah,
an
so I
assembly.
want to be clear, the behavioral support is not specific to a program. That's us looking at anything that's out there that supports student achievement. So that's not just so I can bring a speaker in to talk to kids. That's not what that is. When I talk about safe and civil schools, for example, that's a curriculum for adults to structure their schools, structure their classrooms. For example, when I was a high school principal, I worked with safe and civil schools, and on our full day professional development days, we had 4 of them. I'd bring our consultant from safe and civil schools, and they would reinforce how or do something called a TFI, a Tiered Fidelity Inventory. How effectively are we implementing Tier 1 instruction and support we have for our kids? So it's like a checks and balances that come in for teachers to support their students.
So playbook.
Yes,
got
sir.
popularized when you
Yes.
came in because of
Yes.
the Super Bowl component. I don't believe most people out there have any clue what the program does. They just know
Right.
it's tied to the Super Bowl, and now they see all this money. Can you briefly explain how the program works?
Yes, so the Playbook program was because it's currently going on, it's a program where our young people are focused on literacy and leadership. So there are monthly sessions at every one of our high schools that occur for over an hour where 50 of our most neediest students, whether behavior, academic, or social and emotionally, receive support through the leadership and literacy trainings from the Playbook component. And we have those young people going in there every day. I know we had one of our Board of Education members sit in on one of the program. It's open to all of our board members to observe the young people. It's a virtual opportunity where there's a speaker that speak with the young people, introduce them to books, talk about leadership components, and those young people go back into the school community, and over time you see how their behaviors adjust to the program. At the top of the year, there was a major kickoff with all of our schools, meaning every student in the school had the opportunity to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas, who's the #1 motivational speaker in the country. And he did a phenomenal session with all of the young people over multiple hours with other guest speakers to just encourage and motivate. One thing about motivation is the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is you're excited, you're fired up, you're pumped up, but then the next day comes. And now you got to be disciplined. So the Playbook program is the motivation that jumps off, and then the discipline piece for those 50 young people that need the support. And that goes through May. So if you look at all of our schools, I believe every school is receiving 9 sessions in total. So that's 9 times 4 is what? 36 total sessions at all of our schools on literacy, leadership. Now, there's a student exposure opportunity. That was the controversy, which was the Playbook. You don't have to do that. I can say, no, I don't want to do it, just give me the program. You're not paying for student exposure. That comes through a foundation that donates opportunities for our kids. So people heard about the Playbook, heard about the Super Bowl, but they don't know that we rented out the flagship movie theater, over 200 students, and they're, building relationships, watching movies. They don't know about the bowling night at the Calvert place. It's just exposure opportunities for young people to develop relationships, develop good decision-making skills, camaraderie, and understand that, PBIS, which I know you've heard that before, positive behaviors, interventions, and support, that's been in place forever. Meaning if a kid do good all week, they get a sticker, cash in some ticket and get a pencil or get an eraser or something like that. This is a muscularized version of that for secondary. You can't do really PBIS at a high school level, but something that blast out the park. There's an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl, all expense paid. Young people get excited for that, and they had a phenomenal experience. Yes, ma'am.
How many students are still in the program this year?
I'm happy to share that data. I think we're going to have that on this Thursday.
This Thursday as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you took the students to the movies, did you have full buses for that? Was it well received?
It was well received, and that was no cost to the district. We, round them all up, rented out the entire theater right here in Prince Frederick, and the young people, I think they watched Creed 3 or something like that.
You bring that up, that used to happen naturally here when we only had 2 high schools. And, when it was just Northern and Calvert, the Career Center was that. Because everybody took something over there. I'm going to make people mad. Please, it's the Career, give me the new acronym.
Technical Academy.
Thank you. I know what the old term was. They get rocks thrown at me when I went to school there. But, you could grow up like I did in Drum Point and might not know anybody from Dunkirk, but you met there. And you got long-lasting friendships from being in classrooms with that. We don't have that now because with 4 different high schools, a person could go to Patuxent and never know somebody from Honeytown. So what you're creating there is what used to happen in that building because it forced us, because it'd be Calvert against Northern in football or basketball or what have you. But now that's the guy you got to know in your class all day long, and you became friends with that person. I have friends to this day that I met through there, and that's, if you don't know the history of this place, we took it for granted. It happened naturally when we went to school, but So I think those are great programs. I mean, that's why I love sports the way I do. I mean, child playing with the kid in sports gets to be friends with him on a level that's ever. So I think that's a key component, you know.
Can I share one small story and I'll turn it back to you for comment? You just have to know why I'm wired the way I am. Most people would never know this. Those that know me know, but let me just share this. I had a tough high school career, secondary career. It wasn't, I didn't put on, I'm naturally a big guy, right? Because of certain teachers, coaches, or counsel, whoever, that came into my life, I did not put a helmet on my head until I was 17 years old, my senior year in high school, because someone did something different for me, cared enough, and that, ladies and gentlemen, turned to a football scholarship that I didn't deserve, I'll be honest with you. People wanted to make sure I was good in life because I had some characteristics, very rough around the edges. I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and a graduate of Detroit Public School, and I say that proudly because of the educators I ran into. And that football scholarship turned into a doctorate degree. I mean, and it's my duty to reach back and give to some young person like somebody gave to me, change the trajectory of my life forever. I don't know where I was headed. Now, respectfully, I love my father. He hit 50 years at Ford Motor Company this year. Both of my brothers work at Ford Motor Company. All of my uncles, Chrysler, GM, General Motors, granddad retired from Chrysler. I wanted to be in the automotive industry, but I took a little turn in my life. And if I can positively change the trajectory of a young person's life, that's what I'm dedicated to doing. So it doesn't seem traditional. It is a bit unconventional, but it's with good faith in mind. And I will never do anything to misuse taxpayer money. It's always done with research, high-level investment, and battle-tested, battle-approved programs. So I just share that to just give a small philosophy on why I kind of reach for different opportunities to reach young people, because if somebody was able to find me at 16, 17-year-old, a mature teenager with my future already determined and switch me up, I do believe we can still catch some young people in that same net and get some positive investment on their lives. Yes, sir.
Could you explain the process of changing the fund balance? You know, we have on page 29, we have a fund balance of $2.5 million there.
Yes, sir.
What's
Yeah, I'll be happy to respond. There's not a process per se for changing the fund balance, but here's how it changes between the beginning of the fiscal year and the end of the fiscal year. We take the beginning fund balance as of July 1, for instance, fund balance last year, July 1, and then we add the total revenues for the whole fiscal year, subtract the total expenditures for the entire fiscal year, and that gives us the ending fund balance as of June 30 this fiscal year.
And what was that?
Per the most recent audit report, the June 30 fund balance last year was $24,054,213. And we do have a copy of the audit report posted on the district website.
Scott, how much is that discretionary, though? How much is obligated?
We have a note in the audit report on page 44, that breaks down the assignment of the fund balance. And of the total fund balance for the general fund, there was around number 7.3 million was unassigned of the 24.054 million.
Thank you.
I have a two-part question. Okay, I was informed that the Chief of Communications position request was funded this year from fund balance or perhaps salary savings. Of the new positions requested, how many were funded from savings from this fiscal year? First part.
So we did create a Department of Communications. Ms. Renee Daniels, she's our Chief Communications Officer. A district of our size, and if you look across the state of Maryland, you need a Department of Communications. I know you have one at the county level to support with high-level communications, whether good or bad, all social media, all of our website. And you said the new positions that are proposed, how many are coming out of fund balance? What was the next part?
Of the new positions requested, how many were funded with savings from this fiscal year?
I don't understand the question.
I can speak to part of that. The new communications position that was created this year, and we did have a position similar with a different title a few years ago. The new position this year is being funded with transfers from other budget lines within the same category, including in the finance office, where we had some positions that were unfilled at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay. What is your plan to reduce the budget for next fiscal years to cover those salaries you hired positions for this year?
I'm trying to understand what you mean by that.
Okay. The Department of Communications
Yes.
was established. And how are you going to reduce the budget next fiscal year to cover those salaries you hired positions for this year?
So I'll say, so one thing we talk about is AROI. That's the academic return on investment. Every year, as an executive team, we will go through our budget and look at what we're not getting a return on investment are, and that's where you can find savings. So for example, in this upcoming year, when we're designing our budget and potentially what we're going to be funded and not funded, there's going to be some hard cuts that potentially will be made. It's the same exact process. We look at priorities, what we need versus what we'd like, and that's where the cuts will come from.
Okay. I had one question, and I've been writing notes for days. What has the analysis been done on West Ed? Does that make sense?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do have a report coming to our board, I believe, at our first meeting in April with
Okay.
regards to West Ed, because that was asked at our board table as well, so we don't have an answer for that yet.
What is West Ed?
So that's a research agency that discusses, benefits, needs of the district, needs of the human resources department. That's how we used it in the past. I believe they have other ranges of what they do, but it lets you know how effectively you're running your department.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So when do you think you'll know what the state allocation is going to be?
I do have a meeting, I believe this Friday, with the public school superintendents of Maryland, where we're constantly talking blueprint, talking state allocation. I don't know. We're optimistic at some point in April.
But they're not going to give us anything for Blueprint. They've already determined that we're the most wealthiest county in the state of Maryland, and they're going to tell us to tax our citizens to pay for it. So if you're counting on any big influx from the state to help cover Blueprint, I wouldn't do that. They've already determined that. Because the little number I heard was like 1.8 million, which, it's nothing. And we'd be lucky if we get that. They're not going to give us money for Blueprint. I meant in your normal allocation, there's generally increases in that, other than Blueprint. Do you have any idea what they might look like?
So are you asking, what are we asking outside of Blueprint? So, yeah, so let's take that $15 million aside, is about $10 million of what we're asking.
No, from the state side, stateside.
It depends on when the legislature approves the legislation to enact the budget for next fiscal year and the governor's approval.
And then the state gives your allocation based on that?
We have a tentative allocation, but it's subject to change until the legislative process is completed.
And what's the increase in that tentative from last year?
I don't have that number with me, but I'd be happy to look that up because it does change periodically, and we recently received new information.
And a lot of those funds are restricted.
Some are, yes.
So apparently there's a lot of interest in CTA, and a lot of kids are being turned away from CTA. What steps are being taken to meet these overwhelming demands on CTA at this point?
So the biggest challenge, and I'll be honest with you, it's finding high-quality instructors. For example, we have an electrical program with no teacher there, because it's hard, the human capital, the personnel doesn't exist in some cases. We do have a phenomenal principal of CTA and director of CTE with Ms. Carrie Atkins. And that's just a constant conversation of what we can do, what we could potentially add. One thing she's excited about when I introduce here is something called esports, which is an opportunity to bring to Calvert County Public Schools. Esports is electronic sports. So as you know, young people play video games already on their phones or whatever. But there's universities across the country that offer scholarships to top esports students that can potentially live into our CTA program and CTE program at each one of our schools. So we're looking at new potential programs, but also still trying to recruit the best instructors out there. The problem is, in some cases, we pay less than industry. So we want the best welder out there. It's hard to recruit a welder from industry into the school setting.
For half the salary.
For half the salary. That's a major, major problem. The interest in CTA and CTE has increased. The demand is there, but the supply.
Well, it's a shame to see over 100 students, the way it sounds now, turned away because there's not a place for them.
We don't have the capacity at the moment.
So do you know how they're going to differentiate who gets to attend and who doesn't get to attend?
It's on the lottery.
Is it really? Okay.
Wow.
It's a lottery. It's first come, first serve. And her and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and she said, it's a lottery. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, whoever
Especially
hears
the-
about it first and to get their stuff in first have the greater chance of getting in the program. But there's definitely a turnaway list for sure because we don't have the capacity to provide.
So for your instructor shortage, for those certain pathways, have you ever talked about approaching the unions
I actually
for some
reached out to
support? I know you have.
Well, I know our CTA principal and CTE director is all over the community. As a matter of fact, she was her organization's director of the year, so we are exhausting that option. But I will say, you know, a lot of it is to do with how we market ourselves as a school district and community in our program. And right now, our human resources department, they're out recruiting now. And an important part of a communications department is to signal boost when we have job openings and to amplify and do hype videos for the program we already have. I'd love to work with Calvert Broadcast again to create a highlight reel of our CTA programming that we can use to recruit administrators or instructors to come and work for us, but also to keep that in the back of our mind of our students that are interested in the program. So I think it's in advertising at this point because education as a whole, ladies and gentlemen, gets a bad reputation, a bad rap, and people don't want to work with kids, don't want to deal with kids. And Calvert County is a great place to work. Our CTA program is top in the state, in my opinion. So why not signal boost that, promote that, show that, and I do believe we'll get some instructors and personnel here that want to be a part of the program with our kids.
I think there might be some support out there to help you.
Okay. But we're totally open to that. If any information that will help that, I'm totally open to it, seriously.
Any more questions?
Doctor, I just want to say thank you to you and Scott. It's going to be the most difficult one I've approached. This will be my 9th budget. I think it's important that however we get down to whatever the numbers are, that we make sure it's a sustainable budget.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the work with has been fantastic. So I want to thank you guys for, I have a lot more information today. I mean, it's going to be difficult. I mean, I think there's 24 jurisdictions in this state, and all 24 jurisdictions are going to have a difficult time. I mean, it is, politicians have a way, you know, there's somebody said, you know, politicians know how to fill out the back of the check, but taxpayers know how to fill out the front, you know, so, it's the main thing I think is looking past today, because we already know there's challenges next year and the year after, so it's making sure that we come up with a budget we know is sustainable, fiscally smart, and so, you know, just thanks, guys, and we'll keep working at it.
Yep. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I do want to thank you along with Commissioner Hart. Commissioner Hart and I have met with Mr. Johnson and Superintendent several times already, been through the budget line by line, and as you said, it's an historic dollar amount that you're asking for. And there's been a lot of questions today, but we have three new commissioners that have never been through this process before. You've never been through this process before, so it's always, the more communication we can have, the better.
Yes, sir.
And as Commissioner Hart said, this ain't the end of Blueprint. This is just the first step. You're gonna be back next year asking for another historical dollar
Yes.
amount.
Yes.
And, at the end of the day, the taxpayers foot this bill. And we have a physical obligation to make sure that, the dollars are being spent
Yes, sir.
appropriately and properly. And if you haven't watched before, you don't always get everything you want, but you get something. So we'll work through this process. And we really do appreciate you coming in
Yes.
today.
Thank you for the
Yes.
invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
We are right on schedule.
Better than I thought, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, thank you, man.
So the next item on the agenda is a presentation by the College of Southern Maryland. Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it is good afternoon, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful to see all of you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. I'm afraid to hit this button on here and think it'll start playing.
Mike.
Yeah.
Morning.
Morning.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, that's
I'm
right. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Good afternoon.
That's okay, it's been a full day.
It could be good evening.
That's
but-
exactly right. I'm so delighted to be here with you today. Should we wait? I'm sorry for Commissioner
No,
Harlan.
don't worry about him.
Don't worry about
No.
him? Okay.
Train keeps rolling.
That's right.
That's exactly right. Well, my name is Yolanda Wilson, and I am so honored to meet all of you and to serve as the sixth president of the College of Southern Maryland. It has been an amazing 60 days, and it is so wonderful to be back in my home state. I have the pleasure of introducing first to my left, Trustee Jay Webster, who's here to join me. Many of you may know Jay.
Good afternoon.
And then to my right is my Chief Finance Officer, Judith Mills.
Good afternoon.
And then behind me, I have my Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Bill Comey, and my Assistant Vice President of Government Relations, Karen Smith-Hupp. So it has, as I mentioned, been a wonderful 60 days, and my primary focus has been to listen and to learn. I don't presume, because I grew up in this state and am familiar with Southern Maryland, that I understand and know all the unique, wonderful qualities of each of the three counties that I serve. I think it is absolutely my responsibility to nestle in and to get to know what makes each one of the counties unique and the points of intersection that all three counties share. I married a man from North Carolina, which is what took me away from the home state, as oftentimes love will do. And we've been married almost 25 years. And I have served in my role in the North Carolina Community College system many institutions that served more than one county service area. And I found in doing that it's really important that each county gets its own attention, that each of its needs are served uniquely. And I found that that is an opportunity and not a challenge. I've been able to do that at quite a few institutions. And I've also found that there's commonalities among the county service areas. For example, as I've been listening the past 60 days, I've heard that everyone is experiencing a teacher shortage, that there are healthcare needs, and that our CEOs of the healthcare systems, we actually hosted them at our new Center for Health Sciences, could use more front-facing and nursing practitioners. There's also a need for a more robust transportation infrastructure. I've heard that in conversing with folks, and we're talking about how do we think through a transportation hub so that students who can only go to one location do not have the burden of trying to figure out how to go to multiple campus locations in a 45-minute travel drive. And I've also heard that's in common, how do we build up our broadband access so no student has to try to find a hotspot device in a McDonald's parking lot. So we have a lot in common among the three counties, and then there's unique aspects of each one. I know that it's my priority and my duty to spend that time learning what those are. And I don't presume to say to Calvert County or Charles County or St. Mary's County, this is what I think that you need to do. What I know that we share in common is a desire for the economic mobility and social mobility of our communities, that we want all of our students and children to be successful, that we want to focus on our adult learners and retooling and upskilling as needed, and that we have business and industry that's depending on us because they need a talent pipeline and a workforce pipeline. And the community college is both the connector and the convener. We know where students are coming from, and we connect them to where students are going to, whether that's transfer or business and industry. So it's absolutely critical that we are that bridge. One of the things that I heard even before I joined and had the opportunity of serving in this role, even during my interview, I had about 11 open forums, so I had many conversations. And what came up repeatedly was the issue with the 7-week courses. So you'll find that I'm a very transparent, authentic leader. And I knew that that was an issue because it came up in probably 2/3 of the forums. And it came up from students, from faculty, from administration, and from community partners. And I have implemented accelerated terms in North Carolina. So I know that there's value, sometimes for part-time students in particular. They can't do 5 or 6 classes at once. So because of cognitive load, they may take 1 or 2 classes at a time. Well, that works well because then I can take 1 or 2 classes in the first 7 weeks and 1 or 2 classes in the second 7 weeks. And before I know it, I have 4 classes under my belt, okay? But if I'm thinking about a student who may be transitioning from high school and has to take a calculus class in 7 weeks. So I have 3 sons, but 2 of them are at NC State, both STEM majors. One is a computer and electrical engineering major, and one is an environmental science major. And my computer and electrical engineering major son whizzes through math. Not a problem. I mean, he just inherently just kind of whizzes through it. My middle son is a strong student, but it's not a whiz for him. And to think that he would have to take a 7-week calc class, I know he wouldn't have made it. He just wouldn't have made it. That does not mean he didn't have the cognitive ability to do it. It simply means that he's not like his brother who could have whizzed through a 7-week calc class, okay? So in conversations with our provost and with our community partners, with our faculty, I made a very quick and early decision that we were going to balance the schedule, that we were going to have as many 15-week options as we have 7-week options. So students can customize a schedule based on what their personal needs and preferences and learning styles are. So that's going to be in place for the fall. That schedule is being built as we speak and will go live in April.
I think that's a great thing because I know so many working people that are a little tentative to go back because of the long commitment. But if you say to somebody, hey, you're a handful of credits short, bang it out in a 7-week period, to finish your degree or what have you, that's a nice program to offer.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And you've given me a really great transition, Commissioner Hart, to something else that I wanted to share. I also had the opportunity to attend our Community College Trustee National Legislative Summit that always happens in Washington, D.C. In that summit, you're learning about the legislative priorities that community colleges have that impact the federal level, okay? So we have Pell Grants, and many of you may be familiar with Pell Grants, right? You do the FAFSA form, the financial aid form. You determine what they call the EFC, your estimated family contribution. That basically is what the family can afford to pay, and then the federal government basically fills in the gap, right, through Pell, non-restricted funds, or through loans. Our Pell Grant funding is an excellent resource for students, but it only takes care of students if they're in curriculum or degree programs. So to Commissioner Hart's point, if I have an adult student who's working in an industry, let's say computer science, and I need to upskill, I need to add an industry certification. So maybe I got my bachelor's degree 20 years ago and it's no longer as relevant as it is now. And I need to go back and get a Python certification. I need to go back and do some Cisco training. I need to get some type of Google IT support certification. I wouldn't go back and get another degree. What I would do is I would layer industry certifications on top of my existing credential. We also have students who come in and say, I don't want to be in school for 2 or 3 years, especially if I have a part-time pathway. Part-time, we have about 60-something% part-time students. If I'm taking 2 classes at a time, it can take me 3+ years to finish. We have some students who that is prohibitive for them. They have to take care of their families and themselves. So they want a quick, short-term credential, like a workforce credential, that will instantly allow them to make a more substantive living wage. Okay, so it might be a 6-week certification, might be a CDL license. Now we have many opportunities in supply chain management where you can earn up to $80,000 or $90,000 a year. It might be a CNA certification, basic law enforcement. You get the gist. Right now, as it stands, our Pell does not help pay for workforce credentials because those are considered non-degree programs or certifications. We now have legislative focus on what we're calling the Workforce Pell Agenda. We're hoping that we will have support around, community colleges are certainly rallying, where we can get Pell funding for students seeking workforce credentials. We know if that comes through, that's going to be a game changer for our communities. There's also a bill out there that's being explored that's called the Farm Bill. That's looking at how we build the rural economy and how do we continue to support agricultural programs. The institution where I worked previously, we had an ag business and an ag technology program that focused on the sustainability of using technology in farming and how farming is shifting and changing. So there's a lot of possibilities there. But I wanted to share some of the national legislative focus areas. And more so, that my intent is to focus on learning and listening to all of you about what your priorities are. Commissioner Hartley.
So did you say you have a CDL program?
A CDL program? Yes.
I tell you, so the biggest thing that I hear, there's no drivers. And companies do not want to take the investment and the time to pay for you to get your CDL, put you with somebody to go through all the stuff, just for you to take your services to somebody else. So there's so many people that are helpers on trucks and stuff like that. But that's a good paying job. I mean, I know a lot of places they can, if somebody had their CDL, they could walk right up, walk in the door, 80, 85K with benefits, just like that, and not be in debt. You know, this biggest thing that we've got to have $150,000 of college debt to go get a job making 60 is ridiculous.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing I hear. There's a distributing company right now that all I have heard for 3 years, we don't have drivers, we don't have drivers. They're outsourcing stuff in vans and everything else. I mean, that need right there alone, I couldn't even begin to estimate. Anybody's got a CDL and they're not working, it's because they don't want to work. I'm telling you, because they can walk right in Monday and get keys in their hand and go work.
The opportunities are tremendous. They're tremendous. And so
they're not minimum wage jobs. I mean,
no,
these
they're
are jobs
not.
with benefits and.
Absolutely. And many of our logistics or CDL drivers can make upwards of $80,000 to $90,000 a year.
Oh, walking in the
door. That is exactly right. Karen shared with me an article that she had read some weeks ago that young folk aren't even getting driver's license the way they used to because you have so many folk doing Ubers and Lyfts, right? So you see that may even impact the funnel moving forward of how many eligible folk even have a driver's license to support infrastructure. We couldn't wait to get our driver's license. I remember when I lived in Maryland, it was 15 years and 9 months, and on that birthday,
My birthday actually fell on the day you could get your license.
We were in
took it
Upper
in a
Marlboro
78
getting my
Monte Carlo.
license because I couldn't wait to get it.
Right there at Calvert High School, kid you not.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So the listening is important. So I've done an internal environmental scan using NC State's Belk Center for Research to just kind of gather information internally. I have a call with them scheduled for March 9th to analyze those results, and that's our faculty and staff internally, to also explore the possibility of doing an external environmental scan with our community partners and our leaders, to have a neutral third party come in and be able to gather that information, and then we juxtapose that internal and environmental scan from all 3 counties and look at that as helping shape our strategic focus moving forward. So what we're going to do in this video in just a moment is take a look back at some of the great work that's happened at the College of Southern Maryland, the legacy that's been created by this amazing team that I have the pleasure and fortune of working with, and some of the great work they've done. And then we're going to look forward to how do we prepare our students and our communities for the future of work. What does that look like? One of the things that came up was artificial intelligence. And how do we prepare for the metaverse? And how do we prepare for all the IT changes in infrastructure? There's so much happening that's going to be moved to technical advances. What does that look like, and how does that impact our day-to-day work? How do we continue to shore up our skilled trades? Okay, we cannot do without plumbers and electricians and HVAC workers, et cetera. We need skilled trades. We need skilled trades. I go to a activity every year, a national conference called Skills USA, where we celebrate the skilled trades and how they have built the middle class of our economy. How do we continue to support that? And let students know that it may not be the same job that your great-grandparents did, right? Because we don't have a lot of students who are embracing skilled trades. That's because there's a perception about what it looks like. It has shifted also because of technology. It is not the same industry that it was 40, 50, 60 years ago. Yes.
How do you work with
Mr. Holland.
CTA?
Career and technical education, is that what
Yes.
you're referencing? Okay.
With Calvert CTA Academy, if they're overwhelmed with the number of students that are applying, is there any type of cooperation between CSM and CTA that?
It certainly can be.
It might be worth having a conversation.
I would absolutely love it, and I know Karen is taking notes for me behind me. So I will share with you the conversations that I've had with some of our superintendent colleagues in St. Mary's and in Charles, and beginning to have with Dr. Townsend's, looking at our facilities, for example. So we have a phenomenal in regional Hughesville CTEC Center, which is our career and technical center, as many of you know. Well, in conversations with Dr. Navarro, for example, she mentioned that they're overflowing. You know, they have maximum capacity in some of their high schools, but students are interested in talking and exploring about the possibility of busing students over to our CTEC facility. So we've arranged a tour for them. Dr. Smith, who's in St. Mary's County, said they can't keep HVAC instructors. Okay, they're being lured by industry, the cost, right? I just heard the presentation about teacher pay. But we have HVAC faculty. So is there an opportunity for them to bus and come to our facilities? And that's where the synergy and the magic begins to happen, where you have collective impact. You have shared partnerships with shared goals and shared outcomes, and hopefully shared resources, whether that's fiscal and human, and then shared successes. And that's a really important model when you have all the key stakeholders coming together and saying, as you mentioned so beautifully, Commissioner Ireland, we have an issue at CTA. How can we work with CSM to resolve it? We absolutely can do that. We absolutely can do that. Because the win for Calvert is a win for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's my philosophy. Okay? So why don't we take a look at the video, if you will. We'll press the play button and take a look back at all the great things that have happened in College of Southern Maryland this past year.
2022 marked the 2-year anniversary of COVID-19. And although COVID is still very much with us, the emergency has passed. All of us have been profoundly and permanently changed by this pandemic. Much has happened to us. We have learned, we've adapted, but we must accept that things will never go back to the way they were. It's time to figure out our new normal. As a result of the pandemic, 2 significant changes in higher education have occurred. Shifts in the labor force, sometimes called the Great Resignation, and changes in higher education, the Great Interruption. A recent report by the Strata Education Network explored the relationship between people who left and changed jobs since the onset of the pandemic and higher education. People who left their jobs voluntarily were more likely to pursue higher education, but there was an uncertainty about the value of higher education, which was stronger among people who had lost their jobs. The factors most likely to influence people's decision to enroll in college were economic mobility, flexibility, and work-based learning, all hallmarks of the College of Southern Maryland experience. The College of Southern Maryland has entered its 2nd year of its strategic plan, entitled Defining Our Future, a plan that recognizes that there is no going back.
CSM recognizes that while many things affect students' ability to complete their programs in a timely manner, We must reduce all barriers within our control to ensure the best student outcomes possible. People with college credentials have higher earning potential, lower unemployment and poverty rates, higher rates of job satisfaction, are more likely to be healthy, and have more opportunities for social mobility. A good example is our Achieving the Dream engagement. Achieving the Dream is a network of community colleges from across the country committed to the work of student equity and success. We shared a common vision in terms of supporting students and meeting them where they were or where they are. We convened a core team in 3 work groups. We developed a strategy of 3 metrics. One of those looked at completion of students in our gateway courses. We put in place some measures in terms of advising, faculty engagement, and as a result of those, we've seen a closing of those gaps by about 6% between our African American students and our white students. As we looked over time, many of our students, they stop in and they stop out, and we had a challenging time supporting those students. So we put in place measures to support students. We've seen a 7% increase in the number of students who have completed their certificate in a 4-year period, and we've seen the achievement gap of African American and white students close by about 4%. Students continue to rate a lack of financial aid as their number 1 reason for not attending college. So we put in place measures to really increase financial literacy. We've seen about a 5% increase in the number of students who have completed the FAFSA application.
When I was in high school in 2019, my father and my 2 sisters moved here in America with me. It was a hard time for me to adjust, especially it was high school and I was like already on my 11th grade. Basically, I'm just the first generation of the family to go to college. I received a letter from the Achieving the Dream team that I got a scholarship. I felt so great. My blood is rushing through my body and it was really amazing. They gave me a technology, laptop, tuition for my books, and everything that I needed for my first semester. And I was like, so lucky that the CSM offered me a great thing. It will help me to develop my career. I still have my mom and my brother in the Philippines, and I hope they could come in America when we're financially stable.
About 10 years ago, I faced a terrible divorce, leaving me in a financial crisis. I lost my home, I lost my job, and I was forced to become a single mother of a 13-year-old daughter, beautiful 13-year-old daughter. I also was faced with another challenge. I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. After those treatments and those complications, I wanted to pursue my education. I wanted to become a nurse navigator to help women that were like me. CSM has welcomed me with open arms. CSM understood that I was broken, but I also was a fighter with a dream. It helped me through so many things, from tutoring to counseling. Once the pandemic hit, I saw that there was another issue that I had, that I may not be able to continue with my education. CSM then worked together with the Charles County Commissioners Cares Scholarship, and I was granted that and forever thankful. Together, they both have helped me be able to concentrate more on my studies. They've helped me just understand that CSM will not only work with me, but work for me. And again, I'm just so forever grateful, and it was a blessing.
CSM is committed to fostering an environment that is welcoming, inclusive, and respectful of all students, staff, faculty, and visitors. Equity is at the core of such an environment. It is grounded in the principle of fairness and is achieved by providing individuals with opportunity, resources, and access needed to be successful. Equity, access, and diversity are more than just words to us. They really embody our commitment to a culture of student and employee achievement wherever people are in their journey for academic and professional success. Equity and access demand commitment from both sides, students sharing their experiences and we at CSM responding accordingly.
The Dr. Maureen Murphy Distinguished Professor for Equity in Education was established last fall, and it was her legacy to the College of Southern Maryland.
The goal really is just to embrace our strategic plan that surrounds diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We have students who are coming to the College of Southern Maryland, and we want to make sure that they are enriched by the diversity, the inclusion, the equity, and that they belong. And if we can do that here on campus, we know that they're going to take that out into the community. I came up with a 3-year plan. Year 1 is awareness, year 2 is implementation, and year 3 is assessment.
Hola, Southern Maryland. Mi nombre es Laura. Soy estudiante del College of Southern Maryland. EXITO is one of the 20 clubs at College of Southern Maryland. We encourage all international students and everybody just to come and get to know more about us, share their experience as we share ours, and on how can we support each other. So in recent meetings, I have shared my experience with the Senator Mike Miller's Leadership Academy and how I obtained a scholarship through it, because a lot of students are not familiar with those type of supports. Being part of the international club for me has been welcoming in a sense, but also it made me feel more in the loop with the CSM community, with what's happening in campus.
The Early College Pilot Program is a program that we've launched this year that we partnered with 4 of the high schools in Charles County, providing access to college for students who may not have otherwise had access. The pilot program allows students to take a 34-credit certificate program. They are transferable to any public institution within the state of Maryland. The students come to the La Plata campus Monday through Thursday. They are classes taught by our faculty, so they will have a college transcript. The students will graduate with both a college credential as well as their high school diploma.
CSM understands its role in the community and will engage new and existing partners in government, economic development, education, and business to develop and sustain the regional workforce pipeline, because local economic development agencies need a qualified workforce to attract new businesses and industry. Local businesses need to retain qualified workers. Baby boomers are retiring in record numbers, and 89% of CSM graduates contribute directly to the regional workforce. What is work-based learning? It's an opportunity for college students at CSM to find employment and gain skills alongside an education. We're here to be your workforce pipeline. One of the things we talk largely about in the Southern Maryland region is the need to grow our own concept that all learning is important and that all learning deserves an opportunity. As the individual goes and pursues education and obtains that degree or credential, employers need to be right there on the other end saying, I'm here to provide an opportunity for you. That's how you grow your own. We sit down across the table with employers asking about what their needs are, and that information informs the types of programming that we offer. It also shapes the curriculum. The programs at CSM are in direct response to the needs of the employers around our region, and those that work actively with us have nothing but rave things to say about the quality of our students. Everywhere you go in Southern Maryland, there's a sign that says we're hiring, and that's why work-based learning is so important.
I was doing scheduling, payroll, recruitment, everything that looked like it was a career in human resources. I decided just to apply for College of Southern Maryland just to see where it was going to take me. I got an email from Achieving the Dream team where they asked me if I was interested in doing the Pathways program with them. I told them that yes, I was very, very much interested. They gave me all of the tools that I was going to need for college, so I didn't even have to worry about buying a laptop. They also helped me with finding a really, really good advisor that I could talk to and kind of just merge with. The pretty much like cherry on top of everything was when they ended up paying for my entire semesters. It really was like it was just like a relief. After that, I ended up getting an email from Work-Based Learning. I was going to be able to work in the field that I want to already go in and actually earn money for it. So I work Monday through Friday. They make me feel really, really just a part of the team. I feel really, really confident. I'm going to graduate next year. I'm going to transfer over to the University of Maryland. I'm really, really thankful for Achieving the Dream and Work-Based Learning.
CSM believes that fostering a culture of employee engagement, work-life balance, lifelong learning, and high performance is critical to the success of the college's mission and our ability to serve our students and our community. By fostering employee engagement, the college builds a dynamic culture that will benefit both students and employees. A high-performing employee culture encourages employees to work better and strategically. A high-performing employee culture retains talent and attracts outstanding new employees and improves organizational performance.
As we transitioned out of the pandemic, I think that we all proved to each other that we could get our work done just as efficiently at home as in our offices and still meet student needs. It really helps me with my work-life balance.
We have established our NeoEd Learn, which is a performance learning platform that allows our employees to go in on demand and take courses that might interest them. CSM established a participatory governance structure that allows employees and students the opportunity to have a voice.
In April, the college's fifth president, Dr. Maureen Murphy, announced her retirement, and the Board of Trustees launched its search for the next president. On November 3rd, the Board of Trustees unanimously voted to appoint Dr. Yolanda Wilson as the College of Southern Maryland's sixth president, effective January 1st, 2023.
The search process for selecting the sixth president of the College of Southern Maryland was a very exciting process, although it was also very daunting because we're filling the shoes of a phenomenal leader in Dr. Murphy. We wanted a visionary leader, someone who's compassionate, empathetic, someone who works well with all of the stakeholders of the college community, and one who is laser focused on student equity and success. We wanted someone who would mesh well with our community, the faculty and staff at the college, and of course our students. Dr. Yolanda Wilson is the perfect person to continue the mission of CSM as we aim to increase economic vitality in the Southern Maryland region and ultimately to transform students' lives.
I am thrilled to be selected as the sixth president of the College of Southern Maryland. The College of Southern Maryland has a national reputation of excellence related to student success, equity, and social justice for all students. And I am honored to work alongside this wonderful college community to continue the phenomenal mission at the College of Southern Maryland.
As we emerge out of the pandemic, our region, nation, and our world are redefining daily life. The College of Southern Maryland remains committed to fulfilling its mission. Our faculty commitment is unsurpassed, and their creativity in teaching is unparalleled. Our staff and administration remain steadfast to the mission. We continue to create opportunities for social and economic mobility for our students. The College of Southern Maryland is an integral part of Southern Maryland, building both the workforce and our culture. We embrace our region. Our roots are deep, and the state of the College of Southern Maryland is strong.
So thank you for watching our video. And as I mentioned, such a phenomenal legacy that's been created by the team, by Dr. Murphy, by so many others who are here and who are not here. And it is just a great, exciting moment to think through what is our next and how do we partner with all of you to see what that next is and making sure that our students have the best possible opportunities and every barrier that we can is mitigated for their progression and their completion. So I will pause and see if there are any questions.
So we do look forward to your leadership. We have a great community college here in Calvert County, supports our citizens. You know, as you talked about, every child doesn't want to go away to college. Every child doesn't want to go to college. There are certainly lots of avenues out there for careers that don't require that. And so we're very glad to have you on board and look forward to meeting those challenges.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just say thank you and for coming in and look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Yeah.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
All right, you
All
too.
right, bye-bye
Thank you.
now.
Thanks.
So, Counselor, that brings us to public comment.
Thank you, sir. The Board of County Commissioners adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. The Ethics Commission has asked us that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. The floor has been open for public comment, first from persons in the meeting room who may begin making their way to the microphone, then those joining virtually. All speakers must identify themselves, and whether speaking as an individual, where you be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group, where you'll be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, please press *9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual speakers will be identified by either the last 4 digits of their phone number or their screen name and unmuted one at a time. Seeing no one in the meeting room, Mr. Cormier has raised his hand virtually. Mr. Cormier, please identify yourself and whether speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Cormier, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Calvert Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I want to thank you for recognizing Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. From the day the school bus stops coming and students with developmental disabilities graduate to become community members with developmental disabilities, it becomes the role for every department of Calvert government to support them. From programming at Parks and Rec, economic development to connect them with local employers, the health department to link them with mental and physical care, to the Department of Aging to recognize today that assess those that are 50 plus and older who might not have as many, if any at all, family support left. The more positive supports the community invests in saves us untold amounts in crisis care and calls for law enforcement as a last resort. In fact, since you mentioned the durable medical equipment recycling plan last month, I've had multiple families reach out asking for more information, so thank you. Thank you for recognizing programs like Meals on Wheels and the services provided by your March Employee of the Month with the local transportation department that made such a difference in the lives of our section of the population. From the bookmobile available through Calvert Library, as well as all the amazing virtual and in-person resources they have, it creates a strong network to keep our young adults with developmental disabilities connected to their community. Finally, thank you for taking the time and dedication today to sit down with Dr. Townsville and the school system. The questions you asked and the context you were able to provide the public regarding the budget can only help with transparency. I look forward to hearing more from Dr. Anderson about her staffing plan for the Department of Special Education. Focusing on the individual needs of each child should not be budget dependent, but I recognize that money makes the world go round. One program that MSAE just announced is called ROSE, the Reducing Over-Identification in Special Education, which will mitigate misidentifying COVID learning loss for students as an intellectual or emotional disability, and as a result, cause more students to be enrolled in special education who don't necessarily need to be there and can be reached through interventions through the general education process. As always, Calvert CCAC looks forward to the continued partnership and cooperation with Calvert County and the commissioners. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Caller with last 4 digits 2100, please press *9 if you wish to make comment. And the caller has left themselves muted and not raised their hand, so I'd say that's it.
Thank you, Counselor. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox.
I attended the Thursday night, the Southern Maryland reception in Annapolis, and then last night I attended the District 27 Southern Maryland delegation in Annapolis.
Thank you. Commissioner Arlen.
Likewise, I attended both of those events and also attended the gun bash at the North Beach Volunteer Fire Department. It's a major fundraiser they have, which was Saturday, and it was definitely packed. Had a good showing for that. That's it.
Commissioner Rasso.
Okay, I attended both of those receptions as well as the MACO legislative meeting. And also I received something to alert Windy Hill Middle School or Northern Middle School that their orchestra and school band sign up is happening now. And they can get a registration form and sign up. It's for rising 6th graders. And it's from Neil Wentz. He's the orchestra director. And I like his quote at the bottom, always dance to your own tune. The haters can't hear your song anyway. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hart?
Pax Nation lost Dejan Brooks here recently, affectionately known by his friends and family as Mustard. Everyone there knew him, great, fine young man, and I just want to send out my deepest condolences and prayers to his family.
Thank you.
That's it.
So I spent the week in Annapolis with my fellow commissioners also. Also on Saturday, attended the American Chestnut Land Trust annual meeting. If you're not familiar with it, you should check out their website. They have single-handedly protected Parkers Creek watershed. And if you're looking for somewhere to walk trails, you should look at their trails. You can spend days there wandering around the Parkers Creek watershed. So I want to give them a shout out. Also want to remind everybody that the Women of the World event is this Saturday from 11 to 2 virtual. So you can go to their, what's the website, Katie? Help me out. I lost my paper.
Or see, it's just on the Calvert Library's website. It's under the event section.
Thank you, Katie. Didn't mean to catch you off guard.
She's
but,
awesome.
Again, want to thank Dr. Townsell for coming in today. It was an extensive discussion about the school budget, but just to reiterate again, it is a historic amount of money that the school system is requesting this year, and it's going to be quite a task to figure this out, how we move forward. But I can assure you that this board is going to do their due diligence and do this as efficiently and as effectively as we can. But I do appreciate he and Dr. Johnson coming in to have that discussion. I'm sure it won't be the last. With that, I believe, Commissioner Hart, you have a motion for me?
Yes, sir. I move we recess to executive session pursuant to general provisions, Article Section 3-305B7 and B8 to obtain legal advice and to discuss pending litigation.
Second.
Have motion and second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.